Good evening. I call to order the zoning meeting for Knox County Commission for Monday, March 24th, 2025 at 5 p.m. I will turn it over to Madam Clerk. If you can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ross?
Present.
Commissioner Durrett? Here. Commissioner Oster?
Here.
Commissioner Jackson?
Here.
Commissioner Russell?
Here.
Commissioner Hill? Here. Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Fox?
Here.
Commissioner Jay?
Here.
Commissioner Frazier? Present. 11 members are present.
Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Fox for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand with me and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Amendments to the agenda. We don't have any. Any discussion? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Lee. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Approval of minutes of a previous meeting. Any discussion? Commissioner Durrett?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Durrett, second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I'll now turn it over to Director Moyers to swear in the individuals.
All right, if you're here to speak to this board on any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand. If you're here to speak in opposition or in favor of any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand. All right, do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're going to give tonight be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, be seated, please.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the first item, please.
Number 1-M-25-RZ is a request of Terry Romans for rezoning from A agricultural to CN neighborhood commercial.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'll step up to the podium, hit the button so the red light comes on. If you'll give your name and address for the record, please. There we go.
Terry Romans, Romans Engineering, 1923 Hopewell Road, Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm representing Rusty Webb, the owner of the property. I'm the engineer and the surveyor.
Okay, thank you. We have one speaker here to speak on this, so you'll get your turn first to speak to the project, and then the opposition will then have their turn.
Can I defer?
No, you've got to go first. I'm sorry.
Oh, flip of the coin?
You can't, yeah, it would be
get it.
nice that way, I understand.
Okay. I've got some pictures on this laptop. I need to hold this. Do I need to hold this?
No,
Okay, all right. It's red. I've got some pictures here just to kind of show the views of what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to get this to commercial, neighborhood commercial, because they're building a large subdivision right down the road, or just right around the corner from where we're at. And we thought storage, some type of storage would benefit the neighborhood. So we were here last month. There was some confusion on the size of buildings and all that, but, so we postponed. And so that's kind of what we're wanting to do, is get that to neighborhood, our commercial neighborhood.
okay, thank you. Director Brooks, would you read this item, please? I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
That's okay. Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the CN neighborhood commercial zone because it's consistent with the intent and location criteria of the CN zone by a vote of 13-0.
Thank you. All right, do you have anything else right now?
Not
Okay.
at this point.
Okay, you'll have time for rebuttal after
Okay.
the speaker, okay?
All right.
All right. Ms. Janice Pritchett? Ms. Pritchett, if you can give your name and address for the record. You can pull that microphone down too to make yourself comfortable.
Thank you. My name is Janice Pritchett,
I live at 1918 Serene Cove Way, Knoxville.
Okay. And what would you like to address the commission about?
Well, I've spoken to several commissioners. Mr. Fox, I had attempted to get you, but unfortunately was not able to. The intent to put commercial on this land is kind of indefensible. This is a residential community. You see Serenity River with about 50 houses, and then a proposed 145 houses opposite where they intend to put the storage. There is clearly residential. Houses on both sections, not industrial. It is just near where the new 145 houses will go in. On that property just 2 years ago, the commission denied putting commercial business there. So I don't know how it can be defended to put commercial in that area. This is a section of East John Sevier, which fortunately has not been encroached upon with commercial. There is the water company, that's municipal. If you go toward the river, there is a veterans cemetery. There is a new Veterans Memorial Park that's being built. There's a church on that side. On the reverse side, it's houses for at least a mile and a half, 2 miles before anything commercial. As some of you know, and Mr. Fox knows, if you go across the bridge, it's heavy commercial, heavy industrial. And that has pretty much now been built right on the road, which allegedly is a scenic highway. Nothing to be done about that section of John Sevier. But you can preserve and prevent the encroachment of commercial. A storage facility or warehouse, whatever the intent is there, is not a necessary thing for a residential community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Would you like to respond?
I couldn't really understand exactly what's going on, but if you leave that up, I mean, what Mr. Webb is wanting to do, he's sit on this property for a long time, and if you look, and I have photos on my computer, but this aerial really shows that you see to the south of the property, you're looking at a treatment plant. You know, and he's wanting to build some type of nice development that will support the subdivision that's going to the north of this. You know, if we do storage or something, because those houses are going to be really dense. And if you look also at the properties on the north side, there's a tree line there, and the barn must be an older photo. The barn to the north that you see the white roof, he's already planted his shrubs up. So if Mr. Webb does his development, nobody will be able to see this, just with a little bit of landscaping on the, I guess you'd call that the northeast or west side of the property, you know. So I don't see a hindrance to the neighborhood whatsoever with what's around them and what's, you know.
Okay. Let me open it up and see if any commissioners have any questions. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Mr. Romans. I'm very interested in seeing what pictures that you would like to present to the commission in support of the project, or in support of the rezoning, I guess.
How do I hook this up? It's gonna be the good question.
Do you have an HDMI cord?
No, I thought there would be one here I could just plug in.
Yeah, we really needed that done prior, Commissioner Fox. It's going to be too difficult to,
Unless I could email them to somebody. No, I was thinking there's a cord here I could just plug right in.
yeah. It's easier if it comes in first to do that.
But I took photos along the side, which the Knox Chapman side, which would be I guess the south side, there's no change. And if you look at the parcel to the northeast side, they've got a tree line all around their property, and the barn, which is the white roof, has already planted a lot of trees on their side. I'm just saying, whatever we do, it's not even, I don't think anyone would see it with the restrictions that MPC would put on us for landscaping, the buffer around us. I mean, I don't think you'd even know that was there unless
Okay.
you're driving down John Sevier Highway.
Commissioner Frazier?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. In looking at this, I think, Commission, we recognize that the CN language is just really horrible. It's one of those things that it can be interpreted in numerous ways. It's also one of those ordinances that I feel like we probably need to address before we even get into the UDO, just because there is so much that can be interpreted. For instance, it can be interpreted that for every building, there has to be 10,000 square feet lots. At 4.39 acres, that's approximately 9 buildings. But it also says that no individual building or commercial establishment should have a floor area exceeding 5,000 square feet. So then I could interpret that to mean that if it's the same use, then no, you can't build 9 buildings of the same use. Further, self-storage in the CN zone has supplementary regs. The regs are 4.93 if you want to look at those, but it speaks to additional regulations regarding buildings and the site, the lighting, parking, lot size. I'm not sure that this use can meet those regulations. So unfortunately for me, this doesn't align as a CN use for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'll resort to asking Mr. Romans some questions. Mr. Romans, this Knox Chapman tract of land, parcel of land, right next to Ms. Pritchett's subdivision that's currently in existence, it's got a large water tank, at least one large water storage tank, is that correct?
Yes.
And it's got an office building, is that correct?
Yes.
It's got a warehouse, is that correct?
Yes.
What else do your pictures portray about that tract of land that would be next door to this?
If you look to I guess the northeast side, the north side, those are clarifiers for water treatment. So you've got, I mean, you can see the tanks, right? You see the dark spots up there? Those are where the water's treated.
So are you talking like, if you look at the word East Governor, the tract that you're referring to is kind of to the left of the word E-Governor, is that right?
Can I use a pointer if I got one? If it'll work?
If you have one.
See if it works. I don't know if it'll go. Oh, there it is. What hits on your wall? Oh, you can barely see it. It's kind of faint. See those right there? Right there in the upper corner. All right.
Oh, I can see it now.
See the tank?
Yeah.
Those are clarifiers. So, I mean, you're looking at clarifiers that are treating water, and you got a water tank about in the middle of the property along this property line.
So your point is that it's not some kind of continuous stream of agricultural land and
No.
residential property, but you have this basically industrial parcel of land that's in the middle of these other areas.
It's a treatment plant, yes.
Okay. All right. And well, can you, given the current, I know that we're talking about zoning, and we're not going to, we're not the planning commission. We're not appearing on a for-use application. But can you describe what the vision of Mr. Webb's project would be?
Well, I mean, we're kind of kicking around ideas if we can get the right zoning, but really we would like to do some type of storage use because you've got that large subdivision going above us. I mean, that would really benefit that neighborhood.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Brooks, can you list out all the things that are available in the CN commercial, neighborhood commercial? What are the things that could be done there?
Certainly, Commissioner. So, it's a long list. By rights, uses permitted by right, retail sales, grocery stores, clothing stores, garden and lawn supplies, small appliance sales, baked goods, antiques, I won't read them all out, hardware stores, business and personal services such as laundry, dry cleaning, banks, laundromats, equipment rental. Also, business and professional offices, which could include real estate offices or dental, legal services. And then there's a number of uses that are allowed, permitted on review, which storage is one of those. Childcare, restaurants, fueling stations, outdoor storage of materials, products, equipment, and vehicle repair and service.
Okay. Thank you. I know last month we got a little into the weeds of what might be there, and even tonight we're having that discussion. But I want to remind all the commissioners, as I went back and reviewed all this, we're voting on the zoning of the piece of land. Regardless of what you might have a plan for, you might tomorrow sell it to somebody else. Or the next day, the next person might sell it. You might even build what you want to build, and then somebody else might buy it and put it in there. So by right, retail, grocery, garden, hardware, personal services, equipment rental, offices, the question I think we have to ask is neighborhood commercial appropriate for the piece of land on a major corridor next to an industrial site between the buffer between the neighborhood and the industrial site? If the answer is yes, then vote yes. What he uses it for, he still has to go through use on review. He still has to go, he may change his mind and do something else by right. And so I'm supportive of it only in that sense of our job is to determine, is this correct? Is this an appropriate use for a piece of land between a neighborhood and industrial site? And neighborhood commercial time and again has been used as a buffer between industrial and residential. And so that's why I'll be supporting it purely not based on the thing that we're supposed to vote on, not what you may or may not do with it, which is part of what we do as zoning. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Jay just said, before, because I've driven by and it was basically kind of a vacant lot, and now there's a lot of commercial vehicles just parked there. And, you brought up storage units last time, but that was kind of the first time we'd really heard about storage units, and you'd say tonight you're kicking around ideas of what it may or may not be. I had a question for Director Snowden. Are you aware of were there any, how did we get to this point? Were there violations, were there codes issues prior to this application?
No, sir. The activity that you see today has occurred since this process started. We have chosen not to do any kind of enforcement until this body made a decision, and then wait upon that body, your all's decision, and then take the effective action at this point.
Okay, so the current use right now would be in violation of its current zoning.
Correct. Yes, because essentially, and Mr. Romans, it's kind of like contractor storage yard used at this point in time. And it's ag zoning, correct, right now?
KUB is putting fiber optic all through there. They'll be probably gone soon because they're putting fiber optic all through our area. Because, I mean, I live close to there. So they just need a place to park. I mean, they didn't, because they've got all the trucks, all the cable. So Mr. Webb is allowing them, so, okay, you can park here. But that'll be gone soon.
Okay. As far as the argument of a utility, Knox Chapman being located here to justify a commercial piece of property being next to it, out in Coreyton on Washington Pike, we have East Knox Utilities. And some folks could say that that's a commercial utility industrial zoning, but it's in the middle of a rural spot. You'd be hard pressed to use Northeast Knox Utility as a justification to put more industrial next to it. Driving by John Sevier on this piece of property, the storage units or commercial, or particularly the way it's being used right now for truck storage and commercial, it does seem very, very out of place. And contrast to the character of the residential areas within that area. So that's kind of the issue I've got with it. Thank you.
Can I ask one question? Now, right now, the property is zoned agricultural, so what's being used for, does that violate any zones? It does?
It would, based on you're allowed 2 commercial vehicles in ag zone. There's probably more than that.
Okay,
And there's some other equipment out there too. So unfortunately, we would consider it a violation at this point in time, but we're waiting for this body to make a decision to take effective action.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You made the statement that he's letting KUB park out there. Is he actually leasing that property them, or are they paying him a fee to park those cars?
That'd be a question to him. I have no idea about his money.
All right. Another question to Director Brooks. Can you offer any clarification on the size requirement, not the use, but the confusion in how large of a building could actually go on the property?
It's a maximum of 5,000 square feet.
So,
Yes, and my understanding, and Dr. Snowden can correct me if I am wrong, is that there is no limit on the number of buildings. So there can be multiple, there can be, well, I mean, there's a limit based on the size of the property, but you can have multiple 5,000 square foot buildings. Is that y'all's interpretation?
That is correct. There is a statement in there about commercial operations, so it's a little bit weird, but yes, that would be our interpretation.
So this over 4 acre piece of property could have 9, well, let's see, where the 10,000 square foot, was that the lot size that you said well, there's 40,000 square feet in an acre, so that would be at 5,000. That would be 4 buildings per acre. Am I looking at that correctly?
There's a minimum of 10,000 square foot per lot, hold on.
Per lot? Is this, so what is a lot? What size is a lot?
Director Snowden thinks it'll be 19 rather than 9.
I think you're right, yeah. There are 43,000 square feet in an acre, and if you have 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, then I would bake it out to about 19 storage units potentially as a maximum.
Does that make
Thank
sense?
you.
So
And
then-
that's what I was getting at. So if neighborhood commercial were to be approved on this, the outcome could potentially be 19 5,000 square foot buildings.
No,
Is that correct?
no,
Or
9, if you did the math.
it says it's 4.39 acres.
4 point, yeah, it's right at 4.5 acres. You could do 9 buildings, not 19. I mean,
No, no, sir.
well,
I'm
but then
hearing
you've got to have building spaces, and, I mean, yeah, you could stack it, but there's building, yeah, if you just do the math, yeah, you could do 19, but.
Thank you. That's what I did, was
couldn't, yeah,
math.
you couldn't. It would just, you just have one big building.
Commissioner Jay, I appreciate your comments, and what does concern me is what, even though I absolutely agree, on the surface, it would appear that CN is certainly very appropriate zoning. However, I'm not sure that 16 or 18 or 19 5,000 square foot buildings on that property is appropriate. And we have no control over that. Would that be correct, Director Brooks? I'm not saying that it's even feasible. As you said, I know there's parking and all that, but theoretically, it could be many, many more than 4 or 5 buildings.
Commissioner, are you asking, can you limit the number of buildings that can be put on the property? Can you condition it?
Outside of what's stated, it could potentially be, well, 16, 17 buildings, given.
I would defer to Director Moyers about if conditioning the number of buildings would be appropriate action by this body.
I don't even know we'd want to do that. I'm just talking out loud.
I'll go back. Oh, thank you. I'll go back to what Commissioner Jay said. If you approve this for rezoning, it can be used for anything that is allowed in the CN zone. And so while conditioning the number of buildings for this particular use, I'll try to defend anything you guys do. I think there are limits on how far we can condition things. And like I said, I think it's important to consider that you are rezoning. If you rezone this to CN, whatever you're being told, it can change. The gentleman who owns the property might sell it. He might go bankrupt. He might have to sell it out of bankruptcy. Now you've got a piece of CN zone property that whatever it was sold to you as could be used for anything that could be used in the CN zone. I keep harping on this. So I think that you need to look at this property and consider whether or not CN is appropriate, regardless of what you're being told what use you're being told it's going to be put to. Because it may be put to that forever. It may be put to that for 10 years and then be moved to something else. It may never be put to that use. So the important thing is CN an appropriate zone as a matter of planning on this location. Limiting the number of buildings, I know we like to use conditional zoning, and I think the county can. I know it can. We've got recent case law that says we can. But the limits of that, it's not unlimited. It's like if you said, okay, CN, but you can only put storage here and nothing else. I think that would go too far. So, the farther you push out the conditional aspect of it, the more questionable it is if somebody challenges them legally. I think using conditions is much more appropriate if you're going to try to limit access to a particular road, something along those lines. But when you really actively interfere in what can be done with the property, you're getting to the very limits of what's within the commission's property and maybe stepping across them. So that's about the best I can say.
Thank you. So let me re-ask that, Director Brooks or Director Snowden, a 5,000 square foot building on CN, is the amount of parking required around this 5,000 square foot building, I'm asking, is that dependent on what is actually is in it? There's no, so there's no minimum that would be required. Is that correct?
We would assess this once we know the use of the property.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Responding to Commissioner Hill, I guess I flipped that question around. What other thing other than CN is an appropriate buffer between neighborhood and industrial? Because we've done that in a lot of places. So high-density condos, high-density apartments, if not CN, the whole purpose of CN is it's meant to fit inside of a neighborhood with more conditions and more restrictions for things that are used by a neighborhood and residents of a neighborhood. So if, I might ask the question, if not CN, what would be appropriate? Because you've also got a piece of land next door between the existing housing development, which has two kind of commercial-looking buildings. Maybe they're barns or something else, but they're two kind of industrial buildings. That piece of property could also be sold as residential. But, isn't CN what we're supposed to put between neighborhoods and industrial complexes?
Commissioner Fox?
Well, I only am, thank you, Madam Chair. I only want to bring, in an attempt to answer Commissioner Hill's question, even though we're not talking about the actual project here. So people don't think that there's an intent to put 19 buildings or something. Haven't you explored, given the dimensional requirements and so forth, what could possibly be put on this 4.5 acre tract of land?
I looked at spacing of buildings, parking, spacing them, down the center of the property. We got 9. 9 buildings would fit right. We also looked at what the client really wanted to do was 2 buildings that are 12,500 square foot, which would have been 25,000 square foot, but we could put 40,000 square foot on it with this zone, but that zone wouldn't allow us to do the other 2 buildings, and it would be, just talking with the county, that what we wanted to do would be less impactful on the environment and look a lot better, but we can't do that. So we're here at CN and we do 5,000 square foot buildings. And I just separated them out with what would be logical. And we got 9, kind of a good layout, but you got 9 versus 2.
Well, okay, my point is, though, that given the proper dimensional standards, setbacks, all that, what you figured that could actually fit in this space would be 9.
Around 9,
Okay,
yes.
not 19 or 15 or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I said that at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking back at the case file, the staff recommendation was to deny. Director Brooks, could you speak to that? And then also, in looking at the existing zoning or the requested zoning and the place type, it's only partially related. So which one of the additional criteria that must be met and justified would this meet to change the zoning?
I can speak to staff's recommendation. Staff did recommend denial to the Planning Commission because the property was inconsistent with the intent and location criteria of the CN zone. And so the CN zone states that zoning should generally be placed at street intersections that include a collector or arterial street as close to the edge of the neighborhood as possible. And then, of course, while this property is on an arterial street, it is not at an intersection or on the edge of a residential neighborhood. Staff felt like there is residential development in the area and coming online, but not a sufficient density to support commercial zoning at this particular location. The CN zone, in addition, staff, when they did their analysis, found it to be inconsistent with the Comprehensive Plan's Implementation Policy Number 4, which prefers commercial development to consist of walkable mixed-use center, corridors, and neighborhood nodes. That was our staff recommendation.
Okay, so the review, there's additional review criteria if the zoning is partially related to the place type. And one of those criteria must be met for us to consider it. So which one can be justified? If the staff recommended denial, does that also mean that they could not find a justification to meet one of the additional criteria?
I'll say that staff didn't get to that point in the analysis because I didn't think that it, if we said, oh, yes, we think that it meets the location criteria based on the zoning code, the place type is partially related, then we would have looked at that additional criteria and went through that particular analysis.
Okay. Because individually, I can't identify one of the additional criteria that is justified for this request.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn this over to District Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we grant this rezoning application, approve it, the neighborhood commercial zone, because it is consistent with the intent and location criteria of the commercial neighborhood zone as recommended by the Planning Commission.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. Pass. Okay. So we have a no from Commissioner Thompson, a no from Commissioner Frazier, and a pass from Commissioner Russell. Is that correct? Okay. Yes. Yes, 2 noes and 1 pass. And it passed. Okay. And that motion passed. Thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item number 2, 12D24RZ is a request of Masana Investments LLC for rezoning from A agricultural to PR planned residential up to 6 dwelling units per acre. Property located at 205 North Wooddale Road, parcel ID 062047 in the 8th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you will state your name and address, please.
Yes, Drew Staton, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee 37939.
Thank you. We do have quite a few speakers on this, so I'm going to ask Ms. Brooks to read this for us, and then you can start, and then you know how the process goes.
Ma'am, thank you.
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 6 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project?
Yes, please, thank you. I want to thank the body again for their time, as well as the opposition. We have had to postpone a couple of times, and so I appreciate their patience, as well as Commissioner Thompson's time on this matter. I think kind of just want to hone in on the point, the Advanced Knox Plan, as you guys know, you're very familiar. That was passed over several years, several millions of dollars, to kind of identify broad strokes, properties that make sense for development, whether it's access, infrastructure, or growth, whatever that is. And so we feel that this Wooddale property specifically checks off each of those boxes. And I'll keep it brief here. I know there's a lot of opposition, but essentially it's in the urban growth boundary, suburban residential. It's immediately adjacent to PR 1 to 6 dwelling units per acre. You're just down the road from 7 dwelling units per acre. You're adjacent to CA. You're less than 1,000 feet from a major TDOT corridor. To our knowledge, it's East Tennessee flat, so therefore, at least from what we've seen, no streamlines we're aware of or hillside protection. We have met with the neighbors. There's ample road width and site distance. And I want to also reiterate, it was unanimously approved from Planning Commission, and so we just respectfully request approval per Planning Commission, and I can be available to answer any questions once they go.
Thank you. Our first speaker is Michelle Hoskins. Is Ms. Hoskins here? Hi. If you'll come up to the podium. You have 3 minutes to address commission, and if you'll give your name and county of reference, please.
Well, I wrote my speech. Hi, my name is Michelle Lee Hoskins. I reside at 361 North Wooddale Road. I also own property at 353 North Wooddale Road. I subdivided this property so that I could build my custom-built home in year 2008 and 9. My property connects to I'm going to talk about two developments so you can understand what is affecting my 14 acres. My property connects to the development at the new Neal's Landing, the potential development of North Wooddale Road. First, I want to speak to you about me. I think it's important to know who's up here speaking to you. Just like when I stand in a formation before my soldiers, I want to know my soldiers. First, I have 3 grown children that I've raised on this property. I have chickens that I consider a hobby and allow a horse to board on my property. Occasionally, I'll have cows on the property when my oldest son needs to use my property. I have a civilian job in the government sector, and I have 37 years in the United States Army Reserves. I'm currently still serving. I have 2 deployments in support of Iraq. I have a humanitarian mission, to just name a few things during my military career. Why do I tell you all this? Because my property is more than a piece of land, but about how I acquired it and where it came from. My deceased father worked hard and paid for this property to give me to raise my family on it. I have maintained this property ever since. There is a history here of hard work, sweat, determination to keep the land and not have issues due to the development that connects to my property and take away from the natural beauty that once stood around my property. The same can be said for everyone that is out here that is about to speak to you about their land that connects to either on Wooddale or the new subdivision that's being built now. The Neal's Landing, the property that connects to me, I'm going to go off because I'm going to lose time. I have flooding issues on my 14 acres. It butts up to this new Neal's Landing that's being developed. My property also connects to the property on Wooddale Road. They have cut away from the tree line that butts up to my property, exposing roots, and dug very close to my fence. So I eventually expect trees to fall over into the new subdivision, and then the subdivision that's Wooddale, that's the Neal's Landing subdivision. And on Wooddale, there's a hill that goes down, and it bottoms out, and it goes out to Asheville Highway. Well, it floods there at the bottom where it floods, at the when it dips down from the Wooddale Road. And when you get to the road, it's a caution light, and we all know that the county will not replace a caution light until there's so many fatalities. Well, none of us want our children or our families to be that fatality, let alone the 6 per acre that's going to go in there. The land is not flat. It's rolling, and it rolls down into another house. Well, this house is going to experience flooding like I've experienced and like they've experienced out here. So I really want you all to consider that, and the road is no more than a glorified cow path, as this one gentleman put it to us. Our roads are not made to handle. I think I figured out 264 licensed drivers if you have 4 per house at 66 homes. We're just not that big. And, you know, I get it. And I think what appalls me the most is the man that wants to do this, who came from a family of money, is not even here to speak. So if he cares so much, why is he not here? Why is he not speaking? Why did he send a representative? We had to take out of our busy day to come here and talk about our properties and how we are affected. And we are affected greatly. Like, I'm probably going to have to, after this subdivision behind me is done, with 144 homes, talk about how they have a huge culvert and the water's not even flowing into from my property because all my property goes downhill towards this property behind me. And what is he going to do with the property that connects to the road on Wooddale Road, the property on Wooddale Road? It does not need to be rezoned. If he wanted to build a house per acre, that would be suffice. We're not fighting that. We're fighting the traffic that's going to be on North Wooddale Road and the fact that we don't even have a red light at the end of the road. It already floods down at the dip. He's going to cause our neighbor, I don't even know if that neighbor's here, but he's going to cause them to flood as well. And I'll be glad to give you everything I wrote because I couldn't really, with 3 minutes, I can't really read a whole lot, and I can't read that fast. But I think it's important because we elected you all to have our best interest at heart. And honestly, I don't care that something goes in there. I built a house, a nice house on 14 acres.
Thank you, Ms. Hoskins. I've got a lot of other people that want to speak
I
also.
know. I'm
and
sorry.
let me say on behalf, and I'm sure my commissioners would agree, that we thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Next speaker is Megan Stinnett. Ms. Stinnett, if you'll give your name and address, please. You've got 3 minutes.
My name's Megan Stinnett. I'm located on 7505 Marylade Drive. I am at the end of the new Neal's Landing. My major concern for the Wooddale is obviously the safety. I have a teen driver. In a couple of years, I'm going to have another one. That development doesn't affect me as much as what Neal's Landing does, but I have experienced firsthand. I sent several of you all a list and pictures of the things that I've experienced in my backyard as far as the flooding goes, that Mr. Davis has said he has no responsibility for. But I just know that the other people surrounding this new development is going to have the same problems that I do, that he's denied any responsibility for. Just going off what she said, backing on her, same thing. The last time he came out to the community meeting, he kept referring to himself as a greedy developer. And that stands true because he does not care about anybody around. He has not been out there. He has not seen the flooding. He says that there's no flooding where I live, but there's plenty of flooding. If whoever I sent to, there's several sitting here, had a chance to look at those pictures, you can clearly see I have way too much flooding. And that's going to happen to these people over here too. It's not flat like he said. It's rolling. There is a very blind hill coming up Wooddale that even myself have been driving it since 2006. Still have to take caution right there. My daughter has to do that as well, and so does everybody else coming down that hill. These new people here, they don't know that. What's going to happen the first time we have the first fatality there? And it's a child. So I don't have anything else to say other than that. Thank you for letting me speak, and I hope that you take into consideration how it's affecting our community.
Thank you, Ms. Stinnett. The next speaker is Nancy Manning. Ms. Manning, if you'll give your name and address for the record. Yeah, pull that down so you're comfortable. There we go. And you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nancy Manning. I live at 411 North Wooddale Road. I moved here in June of '22 from Austin, Texas, a neighborhood called Austin's Colony, which was 12 miles from downtown Austin. And I moved here purposely because of a subdivision just like this proposed one, with one road in and one road out, just like this one is going to be. And every morning in Austin's Colony, it took 15 to 20 minutes to travel 3 to 4 blocks to get out of our subdivision. And that was with a traffic light, sidewalks, and even turn lanes. We had a fire station at the corner, and they're the ones that assisted that Department of Transportation put in the turn lane because the emergency vehicles simply didn't have good access to a one road in, one road out situation. Now imagine the same scenario, except here we have no sidewalks, no shoulders, no turn lanes, no signal lights, and narrow ditch-lined roads. Wooddale is a hilly, rural road that isn't built to absorb this kind of traffic safely. People turning right out of that subdivision toward Asheville Highway will either be stalled for 15 to 20 minutes or will be rushing to leave the subdivision by turning left onto Wooddale and then speeding down our very narrow road. I am a neighbor that walks like other neighbors do on the road because there's no sidewalks. There are kids, there are domestic animals, and there's lovely little pigs and sheep and chickens that come into my front yard sometime, which I enjoy, but they're going to get hit. This isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. It's going to be dangerous. I understand that we may technically be within what's called that urban growth boundary, but this area still functions as and is rural. I live on a half acre. Behind me are Michelle's 14 acres of ponds, trees, wildlife, and rolling hills. And just because a line on a map calls it urban doesn't mean our infrastructure supports high-density development. The growth policy plan acknowledges that even in urban growth boundaries, rezoning should be consistent with infrastructure capacity and that the safety and adequacy of roads must be considered. Furthermore, the East Knox County Community Plan was designed to protect the rural character of areas like ours, and that plan clearly emphasizes preserving farmland, open space and scenic corridors, and encourages clustering homes with land conservation, not suburban sprawl. The plan also calls for development to be concentrated in designated corridors and crossroads, not along narrow roads like Wooddale Road. And finally, even if the community plan doesn't carry the exact same legal weight as the growth plan, it does represent the will and values of the community. Knox County did invest time and taxpayer dollars into developing the plan, and it calls for thoughtful, safe, and context-sensitive development, not shoehorning high-density subdivisions into rural infrastructure. And yes, we do have a housing shortage here, like elsewhere in the country, but that shortage is primarily of affordable housing, which this proposed development will not
Ms.
provide.
Manning, if you can wrap up, I'm sorry, you're out of time.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. French, Ty French.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you'll give your name and county of, or address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Ty French. I live at 425 North Wooddale, and I agree with everything that my neighbors all say. Also, it's very loud there in the morning. You can't drink coffee on your porch. And, I've noticed quite a bit of stink lately from the sewer system. I think it's being affected, in that way, which is bad for everybody, not just people in our district. But the water issue is the main thing. I've lived there my whole life, and I'll be honest with you, that area, I'm afraid if, you say you can fix the problem, I don't know that you can fix the problem because you might cause another problem. It's going to cost the county a lot of money. The Food City, in this last recent flash flood we had, there's erosion now that they're having to go back and repair. I don't know what's going on with that, if it's going to fall into the ditch or whatever. And you got to remember, if you got dirty water, you're going to soon have alligators. And that's not going to be a real good thing. Like in Chattanooga is loaded with alligators. I'm afraid they're going to make their way here. So there's quite a few issues there, the roads and all that. I just don't know that we can fix that. And I don't know about the guy who come in here and wants to do this, the investment company, but why can't we in our district have some of our own people, since we have a good-sized district, that can build this ourselves and decide what's to be built and not built, not somebody from outside. So anyway, I agree with my neighbors, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. French. Our next speaker is Jennifer Blakely. Okay. Mr. Joseph Bailey. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. It's hard to see up here because it's so bright. Yeah. So if you could give your name and county of residence, please, and
Sure.
you've got 3 minutes.
Whew, and I was nervous last time, and this room doesn't make it easier, so I will get through
Don't
what
be
I have
nervous.
to
Just
say.
take a deep breath.
Okay.
You're fine.
My name's Jennifer Blakely. I own with my family 307, 305, and 309 Wooddale Road, which are adjacent to this property. It's agricultural. It's been in my family for, 75 years, just like this property was in the Oglesby's, this property that we're talking about was in the Oglesby's family for just as long. So I want to follow up. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful for everything you guys do. We don't know how all of this works, and so this is really eye-opening for us. And the things that you guys do is very, very important. And it's the future of our county. And these things, these plans that you guys have that we talked about last time, we heard today that this development is within the plans. It's actually not within the East County Growth Plan, which is incorporated in the Knox Growth Plan, because it is, as we heard, 1,000 feet off of that arterial road. And whether it's 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet, it doesn't matter. It's still off of that road. And the road that we're talking about that we were told was plenty fine for this, we went out and measured in 3 different places, and it was 18.5 feet across, which is tiny. If you stand at this property and you look, this will tell you how country it is. If you stand at this property and you look straight across from me as to that wall, you will see an outhouse that is still there. So that's how country this is. The other thing that I want to talk about is something we also heard. I I'm an economist. I'm happy to tell you guys my background. But one of the things that I focus on is market structure. And we heard last time when we were here that these were speculators, and we heard at the community meeting that they were speculators and greedy developments. That's in quote. What speculators do for a market is another thing that we heard here last time. We heard that farmers no longer want to farm. Farmers want to farm, but what speculators do to a market, and is well known, is that they drive up the prices. And if you can get 66 houses on an acre compared to 66 cows, or even less than that, then it is a market. It is an absolute, of course you would want to do that because you can make a lot more money. And that's where you guys come in. That's where government comes in, is to regulate and to keep things according to what the regulations say. And the regulations say to keep agriculture in East Knox County agriculture. So those are the things. I'm trying to hurry. I got 49 seconds. The other things I want to say is the road. I told you guys we measured it. It's 18.5 feet. I also applied for the red light. I think I told you guys that last time, and it was denied because there's just not enough traffic and not enough fatalities. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
You did great.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Joseph Bailey. Mr. Bailey, if you'll give your name and address, you got 3 minutes.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. I just wanted to clarify that though I work for IMES Nature Center, I'm just here as a concerned citizen today. I live at 7714 Vista View Lane, and as you've heard, Mr. Davis's lack of interest in the community's concern is problematic. I have tried to set up a meeting with him since the initial planning hearing, but he has not been willing to set a date. I appreciate the County Commission requiring a community meeting, but unfortunately, Mr. Davis was not interested in working with the community on any compromises about the proposed development on North Wooddale Road. I understand that conservation concepts may be foreign to some people, but to be unwilling to learn about how these developments will impact this community is concerning, especially when I even shared how working with land conservancies could help Mr. Davis recoup some of the revenues lost by providing significant tax benefits. I'm grateful to see a focus on conserving natural areas in the Hillside and Ridgetop Protection Plan and the East Knox Community Plan, and I encourage this body to consider policies that will ensure these conservation initiatives are taken seriously by developers. I recently read an article written by UT Agricultural Extension, which outlines how trees can be protected during construction, but it is too difficult to enforce and would require more work than the average developer is willing to put in. However, anything new and innovative is often viewed as too difficult until it is actually undertaken. Currently, massive subdivisions such as Neal's Landing are being constructed in ecologically valuable areas and in a way that does not work with the land to maintain the many important ecosystem services such as flood mitigation. These practices will not sustain our community's historic and natural heritage into the future. The development at Neal's Landing, for example, has resulted in every tree being clear-cut, hilltops being destroyed, construction equipment severing the tree roots of surrounding properties, and increased flooding on those properties. I propose that for the Wooddale Road property to work best within this very rural community, 40% of the acreage should be conserved to provide flood mitigation, reduce the effects of sediment runoff, and maintain wildlife value. Additionally, dwelling units per acre should be limited to 3 dwelling units or less to maintain the rural character outlined in the East Knox Community Plan. This natural area should be conserved in a way that is outlined in the Hillside and Ridgetop Protection Plan, where forests and valuable open spaces are kept largely intact to foster wildlife and plant habitat protection while maintaining the character of the community. This would provide wildlife with a corridor, allow mature trees and native plants to support that wildlife while mitigating flooding and add to the property values for current and future residents. A 60 to 90 foot perimeter around this conservation area and surrounding property lines should be implemented with construction barrier fencing in place to ensure that plant roots are not damaged. There are many other areas in our community that can and should have higher housing density. These include previously degraded land that does not provide the ecosystem services I discussed earlier. Incentivizing developers to use old housing developments, abandoned construction or industrial sites, locations blighted by kudzu, or other areas where native plant communities have already been destroyed will result in the needed housing for our growing community while maintaining the cultural character and benefits of natural spaces for our entire community. I encourage this body to consider using the proposed development on North North Wooddale Road as an opportunity for study and for setting new policies that will make Knox County a leader in thoughtful land use while also providing needed housing with conservation in mind.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I'm
Would
sorry.
everyone opposed to the rezoning of 205 North Wooddale Road please stand at this time? Thank you for your thoughtful consideration, Commissioners.
Thank you. Our last speaker on this is Mr. Michael Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, you've got 3 minutes. If you'll give your name and address, please.
Mick Sullivan. My wife Lisa and I have lived at 444 North Wooddale since 2001. Remember, I was here in January. I talked about the problem with site distance and problems with the access road location. Also, with was mentioned by a gentleman that spoke up and said that he had been out there and looked at possibly putting in the access road right at the top of that steep hill. I pointed out that, like in the winter with slick roads, traffic stopping on that steep hill, that would be a big problem. I was really glad you gave, or you required Mr. Davis to hold a community meeting. I had the naive idea that he would respond to our concerns at that meeting. He was asked about the site road location and about safety. He said a site development plan costs money, and that would be later on after it became PR. And he was not required to talk to us about that at that time. In regards to safety, he deflected to the county, saying a conceptual engineer would take site distance calculations in each direction and then give him the verification where he could, written verification where he could proceed, again, at the next stage of development. But realistically, for our community, this is our last chance. I think once it goes to PR, it would be very hard for us to raise our concerns again. Commissioners, all the facts are not in. I really don't see how you can make a decision without those serious safety concerns being covered. And it was my hope Mr. Davis would be here, and then we could give him maybe one last chance to do that. So anyway, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll save us a little time.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. All right, that's for all of the speakers. Thank you all very much. We will now open it up for commission questions, and Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, can you talk about Wooddale Road, please?
Yeah, be happy to. And some of the folks have said we measured it, it's about 20 and a half feet wide as you come off of Asheville Highway, and it does narrow down as you go towards Ruggles Ferry to, I think somebody mentioned 18 and a half. So it has got a center line striping on it, so that's about what we would typically see between that 18 to 20 foot wide fairly consistently through that particular section of roadway. And we have not looked at a signal at the location of Asheville Highway yet. We can certainly do that and explore that with this developer, but we have not looked at this point in time for a signal warrant analysis at that location in some time. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank everyone who came out. I know this has been postponed, I guess, 2 months since we originally heard it in January. And I do appreciate my fellow commissioners giving us the opportunity to dig into this further. We did have a community meeting. The questions centered around the density, lot size, conservation, and how the new residents would assimilate to the existing community. It is a large community, but it is a very tight-knit community. As you can see, they're pretty well connected. There's a lot the roots run deep in that area. And so they requested larger lot sizes, a conservation area to preserve the natural character of the property, and flood mitigation, as has been mentioned multiple times. Internal sidewalks for pedestrian connectivity inside the development and for future connectivity. One person stood up in the meeting and said, well, right now, if we live in a subdivision, we have to drive to go walk somewhere. So they were curious about the sidewalks internally. Mr. Davis was amenable to questions, but the consistent response was that the math doesn't work. It didn't make financial sense to cluster or preserve any acreage because it would increase the cost of the remaining lots and would increase the infrastructure expenses of the development. While civil, there did not appear to be any common ground at the time. Would you like to?
Oh, sure. I'll just piggyback off that, Commissioner
Sure.
Thompson. We are open to internal sidewalks, but it's about density. 2 units an acre doesn't work for internal sidewalks, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 does. So I just want to mention that. We are agreeable to that.
Okay, sure. And so it got postponed again. And so Mr. Davis had reached out and said he would like to postpone again, and we wanted to have lunch. And so we did. Mr. Davis requested postpone. I was agreeable to meeting to see what more community input looked like. The only wiggle room that Mr. Davis offered at the time was a reduction of the 4 units an acre. They said, we could drop from 6 to 4. But after much discussion and debate about rural character, large lots, conservation of natural resources, clustering, we basically landed as we did at the community meeting, that the math doesn't work. We basically parted agreeing to disagree. And so in the past 60 days, I basically came to the realization, okay, if we're not in agreement, obviously there wasn't a compromise to be found with the community. If this doesn't work, then, well, why doesn't it work? What can we point to justify, this doesn't work? And so I requested a copy of the East Knox Community Plan so I could get my hands on it, look at it, not just a couple pages. A little history on it. It was codified in 2017 as a small area plan to provide a detailed direction and guidance when making future development decisions as a supplement to the Northeast Sector Plan. In the Advanced Knox process that we spent years and millions of dollars going through, this was rolled over and adopted alongside and made part of our current plan. It is as relevant today as it was yesterday. I spoke at length with Director Brooks. I spoke with and interviewed 5 of the 8 members of the stakeholder committee whose input shaped and guided the plan. These included 2 former planning commissioners who served 10 years each on planning commission, community members, and a representative from former Mayor Burchett's office. Every interview could not have been more consistent in message or intent. The process was initiated and facilitated by the mayor's office, who allocated $50,000 to cover the cost of the third-party consulting team. There was tremendous amount of community input and involvement. The mayor's office hosted a bus tour taking members to area industrial parks. There were socials and multiple opportunities for community engagement. The stakeholder committee was incredibly involved. Midway Business Park was a thorn in the side of the community. Concessions were made by the community. It showed up in every conversation I had. The concessions were made by the community knowing development was coming. So they weren't naive. They knew it was coming. Midway Business Park was given a green light with the understanding that while certain areas would allow development, more sensitive agricultural and rural areas would be protected, preserving the rural character of East Knox County. These concessions were made with the promise of limiting future development, both residential and commercial, to the development districts along main thoroughfares. Trust was high with the mayor's office and the previous commission, who codified the plan alongside the city of Knoxville and the town of Farragut. Creation of development districts along Hashville Highway, Strawberry Plains Pike, and John Sevier. This applicant recently received approval for 12 units an acre, along with an expansion of Neal's Landing and other rezonings on Asheville Highway. There are appropriate locations to say yes. This is not one of them. Just to quote the plan very briefly, the qualities that make up rural character are hard to define and easy to spot. Many of those qualities are at risk of disappearing. As growth pressures spread, the new and typical suburban style development looks out of place. East Knox County does not have the tools in place to absorb a portion of the county's growth in a pattern that respects the area's traditions and natural, rural, and historic features, and the area is therefore vulnerable to undesirable development patterns. Sorry. In summary, this application was and is still in conflict with the desires of the community, not supported by the East Knox Community Plan, and does nothing to benefit the area in regards to connectivity, preserving rural character, or enhancing the lives of current or future community members. So my motion is as it was in January, but now with a greater resolve.
Commissioner
I would
Thompson.
yes. I'm sorry.
We've got another commissioner
Okay,
to
sorry.
ask a question.
Okay,
Can we
oh,
do
wait.
that and then come back
Sure.
to you? Okay,
Go for it.
perfect. And then,
I was just on a roll and had it written.
you're fine, and I hated to interrupt you too, but,
Yeah, you're good.
Mr. Staton, did you want to respond to anything that you heard?
Unless you guys have questions, I'm not sure
Okay.
this is the best forum to speak poorly of other people, and I don't really appreciate that. I'll let the record show. So.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have questions for Director Brooks, because I was looking at the Knox County future land use on KGIS. I noticed this entire area is, the land use place type is suburban residential, as opposed to, what I expected to see, which was rural living and rural conservation. And maybe you can relate, for the new commissioner's benefit, how and what was the thinking behind all this area, including all up and down North Wooddale Road, the place type of suburban residential versus a less intense land use?
Commissioner, I can do my best. There are a number of individuals involved in this plan. So the suburban residential, as you all noted earlier, it is within the urban growth boundary, this area. So that was one factor that was taken into consideration. We also looked at the hillside and ridgetop layer on the map when determining where to assign rural conservation. So this area has very little of that, although there is some hillside area, but it's kind of scattered about in this particular area, and this swath of suburban residential. We also looked at access to utilities, so that also informed our decision.
Okay. And so, I mean, I know that this particular land right now is zoned agricultural, and that's not even partially related to suburban residential. Is that, I mean, in looking at the matrix. So, I mean, was it the intent of Knox County Commission and City of Farragut and City of Knoxville to transform all this area into a more intense usage of residential versus agricultural then?
When we look, it's a future land use map, so we're looking out 20 years in time. So it's not necessarily looking at what's going to happen in the next year or two, but trying to think about how we accommodate growth over a 20-year horizon.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My questions were also similar to Commissioner Fox's in noting that this is zoned suburban residential. This whole area, not just this isolated piece, but this whole area, including what's already been built to the immediate west of it with this Neal's Landing, has all been identified in future growth patterns. I know it's not fun. I'm looking, I would speculate that probably one of the reasons it was zoned that is because it backs directly up to already commercial mixed use and then a major, very major artery. So to think that it's going to be able to remain agriculture when in fact it was not part of our growth plan that we adopted is probably not realistic. I do think that this ask of 6 per acre is way out of character, absolutely out of character. I could be persuaded to support a lower density, because I do appreciate that there is an attempt to not jam it up the way your neighbors to the west are. But at some point in time, we've got to begin to follow our own plan. We just cannot rely heavily on the emotion of it all, even though probably everyone up here is property owners. We all get it. We understand how passionate this is. But the intent of our plan is to condense our development closer to major arteries so that we can protect more outlying areas. And right now, this, which I see is why it's in suburban residential, does in fact meet that criteria. So those are just my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is to Commissioner Thompson. I guess, like Commissioner Hill, I'm a little confused. You've been on this commission 8 months, and virtually every meeting has said, save the rural areas and put more density on more corridors. And this is 0.25 miles from the most major artery, one of the most major arteries in our entire county. And I guess I'm confused because this is what the plan was meant for. The plan was to identify where is our urban areas and our urban corridors, where do we expect to plan our growth, and then where are our rural areas and how do we preserve those? And we have all agreed that lowering density to 2 units an acre in the rural areas is very appropriate, but this isn't that area. This is literally right off a giant major artery, and houses, we build houses for the future. We don't build them for today. We don't build them at all. Government doesn't build houses. The private sector builds houses. And I promise you, if you wanted the government to build houses, we would not be building the ones that you wanted in your backyard. I promise you. You know, this is literally 4 miles as the crow flies from a place that's going to have 1,000 jobs tomorrow. Like in a no time, it's going to be available. And in order to have those great high-paying jobs, you need workers, and in order to have workers, you need places to live. And the more we limit on our major corridors, the higher the price gets, and then people don't want to live here. it's a ripple effect. And I get everything everyone's saying on Wooddale. I've driven it. I understand it. We have this conversation virtually every single month. And nobody wants to have anything new built near them, even if they live in the subdivision right next door that was built when somebody else came and you know, said, I don't want that one either. And you know, that's why we have property rights, and that's why we have plans and growth, and it's the most impossible thing that we do as commissioners. It's if everybody could have their way, nothing would ever be built, all the jobs would be plentiful, and everybody would have a cheap place to live. But it's not the reality of where we live, and I would agree with Commissioner Hill. Perhaps 4 is more appropriate with some conditions of sidewalks to add some amenities. I don't love getting into how it's going to be built, because every time you put more and more conditions on it, you raise the price of it. And everyone every month says, we need more affordable housing, we need more affordable housing, yet we don't want to build more affordable housing and we don't want more housing. I don't know how, we just had a housing report came out last week. And once again, every year it comes out and it says, we're behind in inventory, and when you have less inventory, you have higher prices. And so I'm not exactly sure what problem we're solving even after 3 years, but this fits every textbook example of sticking to the corridor, build it near jobs, and allow people to live their lives. And you know, it's the hard part. But I agree with Commissioner Hill on this one, and I feel like there's an appropriate balance between the two.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to offer my personal perspective on some of the questions that have been brought forth about the urban growth boundaries and this specific place type. First, I want to thank the applicant for going out and being willing to meet with the community, and I really want to thank the community for showing up. It's really important. I say this a lot to constituents, butts in seats matter. And so when it is your community, it's great to see you come out and voice your concerns. That's what we're here for. When we created the comp plan, there was a lot of discussion about the urban growth boundaries. This property falls, the one that in question, it falls on the east side of the urban growth boundary. Because this area is the natural line that separates the city and the county, and this is where we typically do want to see a mix of transitional uses and higher densities as we move out of the city and into the county. There are areas along the urban growth boundary where higher density and certain uses may not align in character and form with existing development. That is most likely why you're seeing a suburban residential place type. That's not a flaw in the comp plan, it's just where the city-county lines fall. So that is why we're considering each case individually. It's important that we consider these individually. That's why it's important today with this request. We know that with any plan, the scenarios are not always going to be the same and they're not always going to be perfect. And we have to look at each request. So to speak to some of my colleagues who had asked about the suburban residential and the urban growth boundaries, I just wanted to provide a little bit of my perspective as to why you're seeing that and to why I'm looking at this individually and considering everything that I've heard today.
Thank you. All right, with no other comments, I will now turn it back to you, Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To address the concerns from Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Jay, what you just described is the reason that we have this plan, okay? Because very quickly, once you leave Asheville Highway, it gets very rural. And yes, we have the Midway Business Park. The Midway Business Park was the reason this was even initiated, because the residents and the community knew that this would be an attraction. It would be a reason to say, hey, we have an industrial park, we have an employer, we need more housing, we need more development. They knew that. They made the concessions, they put in the development districts, they said this is where it's most appropriate. And we made a promise. The mayor's office made a promise, the commission made a promise. We will protect the more rural areas. Outside those development districts, we will make an effort to protect those areas because they are rural. The community didn't like Midway Business Park. It took us, almost 10 years to get a good tenant in there. And we avoided some real dumpster fires that could have gone in there. Because of this plan, it saved us, and we got Greenheck. This plan is not dead. It's alive and well, and it's there for a reason. The community asked for it. We fought for it. We voted on it. It's still here. We're following a plan. It's not like we're avoiding, we're throwing out what we did in the general plan and the growth plan. No, this is a small area plan that says, okay, this is what you do at 5,000 feet. The growth plan, when you're looking at suburban residential, that's a 15,000 feet. This is closer. This is where the rubber meets the road. That's, I would appreciate, I appreciate the conversation and the questions. Because yes, this is something that's not been brought up. It's not been talked about, in my opinion, enough. Because there are definitely places in this to say yes to development. Where I wouldn't be here saying, no, we don't need to do that. I would say, yes, that's appropriate. Last summer, when Mr. Davis came and asked for 12 units an acre on Asheville Highway, that's appropriate on Asheville Highway. Neal's Landing, it's appropriate on Asheville Highway. It's a direct access to Asheville Highway. There's a traffic light. But there's places that are not. And so, for me, my motion is as it was in January, but now just with a greater resolve. I would sincerely appreciate the support of my colleagues, and again, I make a motion to deny this application. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Thompson to deny, a second by Commissioner Frazier. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have another question for Director Brooks. It just has to do with this East Knox Community Plan. Is this something that everyone agreed to? And if so, should it be superimposed onto the KGI's Advanced Knox? or has it already been superimposed? Because what I'm hearing from Commissioner Thompson that there should be some exception to what we're seeing, or to this particular tract of land, but I'm just seeing land use of suburban residential and then an agricultural zoning, which is not even related. So I'm trying to reconcile those.
Commissioner, the plan was adopted. It was adopted by this body. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. It is included in the Knox County Comprehensive Land Use and Transportation Plan. By reference, it is not specifically mapped out, but I would call your attention to, if you're familiar with the plan on page 32, it talks about, there's a development pattern that Commissioner Thompson references, and that is the core recommendation of this plan. It talks about understanding that the pattern will not happen naturally or with limited development regulation tools currently available. So we're still operating under the zoning ordinance that we were when this was adopted, and that is one of the that's one of the most important parts of the Unified Development Ordinance that we'll be working on, is how do we take those plans and put the regulations to them. Does that make sense? So we can actually fully implement them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a substitute motion for, to approve at 4 units an acre.
I second that.
All right, we've got a substitute motion on the floor.
With the sidewalk conditions.
I was going to ask, okay. And the second's okay with that? Yes. Okay. So the substitute motion is 4 dwelling units an acre by Commissioner Jay, a second by Commissioner Hill, with the condition of sidewalks. So all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
All right, can we do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Oster?
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson?
Nay.
Commissioner Russell? No. Commissioner Hill? Yes. Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Thompson? No. Commissioner Fox? Pass. Commissioner Jay? Aye. Commissioner Frazier?
No.
Would you like to change your vote, Commissioner Fox? He'll stick with pass. All right, so we have 5 ayes, 5 noes, and 1 pass.
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a second substitute motion.
Okay?
I'd like to offer a substitute motion of 2 units an acre, no conditions. Same as the rural area.
Okay. Got a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay for 2 dwelling units an acre, no condition. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor? Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Lee? I'm sorry. Okay. Commissioner Frazier?
I would just like to have some discussion. I would like to hear from the community on that proposed density.
Ms. Hoskins, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
So I appreciate your candidness and doing what you're doing. I still don't agree with you, but what I would like to say is we've done a lot of speaking up here about, and I'm not really sure who these two are. I really just don't. I've never been in this building, this part of the building. I worked downtown for a long time, but what I want to say is, are you truly looking and hearing what we are saying about our property? I'm telling you, my property is flooding. I have trees, roots that are exposed. They're this close to my fence line. I butt up to both pieces of these properties. At what point does Mr. Davis or his representative are held responsible for destroying our land? At what point do we look past just the property we're talking about? And are the engineers, is the planning commission, or whoever they are they doing their jobs, and are they looking at every aspect? Because I have land and a nice house on it. I may not be out west, but I assure you I have a nice house too. And it's not about what's around me. I love all my neighbors. They can live in whatever house they want to. But when my land is directly affected because no one is looking at what is it doing, I have a natural spring that flows into the new development on Wooddale Road, or on Neal's Landing, and they put a culvert in, and the water don't even flow up to the culvert. It has to build up before it goes up in there. So my back property is flooding, my fences are rotting, my tree's exposed, so once it falls over, so we don't mind houses going in, but are you truly looking at everything it is doing to our property? Is the survey showing the development when it's dug into? So the hill that faces my property in Neal's Landing is dug down over 20 feet. The property straight behind me that connects to Neal's Landing was dug down about 10 feet. This water has to go somewhere. The water naturally flows. The houses in Wooddale Road, or in Neal's Landing, are flooding themselves. And D.R. Horton is the one trying to mitigate it, I'm assuming. I'm assuming Scott Davis and Eagle Bend Developing, which his father or grandfather founded years ago. I get the ties. I get the politics. Military has politics. But are you looking at each individual and saying, what is it doing to their property? We're telling you, we're flooding. They don't care. He wants us to call him to come out to our property and look to see what it's doing. How about get out and get into our community and look and see what you've done? Because I'm telling you, there's lawsuits coming. So great, build your homes, build your 2 to an acre, build your 4 to an acre, build your 6 to an acre. But what are you doing to us as you're doing it? That's the question you need to ask yourself, because we're suffering. I am stressed out. I have 2 jobs. I do everything I can to keep my house going, to see my family healthy. I'm tired. I'm tired of watching this construction blasting that shook my house, that I didn't even know they were blasting a hillside off. What are they going to do over here on Wooddale Road when that road is, that land is not flat, that land rose. It rose down into the neighbor.
Ms. Hoskins?
It comes off of my property.
Ms.
Yes.
Hoskins, I hate to interrupt you.
You're
I know
fine.
you've got some other folks that
I'm
want to
sorry.
speak, and I know I called on the community, and I should have put a time limit on
I can
everyone.
talk.
So I understand, and I don't want to squash your passion. I don't want to seem like I'm doing that at all, so I thank you. So are you stating that you would not support 2 per acre?
No, 1 an acre. I think you're doing a lot with just 11 acres, and it's rolling. You're going to have to bring dirt in or dig down. What are you going to do to the community? Thank you, Commissioner Thompson, for having our back. I really wish you all would listen to us as we speak. We're being sincere. We're telling you what's going on around us, not
Thank
just
you.
that property.
Mr. Bailey, if you could just 2-3 minutes.
Yes,
please.
thank you all for considering this so seriously and having a good conversation about this. I think 2 is closer. I came in an effort of compromise initially to you all at the February hearing, so I'm glad to hear that there's at least some concession being made. But if you go down North Wooddale Road, it's like all single-family houses. This would be the only subdivision on, so it's more of a neighborhood feel. So I don't feel like a subdivision at all meets that representation, and I'm also disappointed that there's nobody's taking the conservation aspect seriously. I did bring that to the commission last time about the wildlife value. I've sent multiple pictures of coyote, turkey, deer, hawks. It is a very active wildlife habitat. Meadows like this are incredibly rare and becoming increasingly so. So as I said, I'm not opposed to growth, but I feel like there are more appropriate places that are already degraded, because it affects our future if we don't protect places like this. It affects this wildlife and our quality of living. And as many people have discussed, they're already seeing a lot of flood damage. I mean, even the people that are in the ridge we spoke to yesterday, I've sent those surveys to you all. Multiple of them have already had flooding in their new home 2 or 3 times. So hope you all take the time to read those surveys. And again, thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Then Ms. Blakely, 2 minutes if you can.
I'll be brief. I agree with Michelle on 1 acre, and I'll tell you why. We have had at times 10, I think now we're down to 8.5 or 9 acres, and we were interested in putting in a farm store a couple years ago so that we could sell our eggs and things like that, pork, cattle, things like that. And we can't do it because on the zoning for this area, you can only have 2 properties, 2 houses, and 1 barn, and a farm store would count as a barn. So we were also interested in purchasing the 1/2 acre that we sold to our niece, to my mom and my uncle's niece, and we were told that we couldn't do that because the land in this area has to be an acre for a house, and the reason that it has to be an acre is because there's no sewage. So for septic tanks, it has to be an acre, so 1 house per dwelling unit. And so that's what we were told, and so I feel like that's what's appropriate with Mr. Oglesby's property, that the speculators have come in and purchased it. Inflated prices. So that's what I have to say. Oh, the other thing that I'll say is there is a county, to the point about the planning and 20 years in the program, there is a county outside of Washington, D.C., which might be where we're going, called Fauquier County. And in 1960, they did exactly what we're doing, and they developed a growth plan. And that is the only county outside of Washington, D.C. that farm goods come from. And when you fly over it into D.C., you can tell where Fauquier County is, because it is exactly what we're talking about here. And that was done in 1960, and it holds to this day, that those plans still pass to this day. Everything is consistent with the plan in 1960. And people still get elected on winning that.
Yeah, Mick Sullivan again. I just wanted to finish by saying I talked to a gentleman today. I'm not going to mention names because I did not ask permission to use their names. He told me his wife was killed on that end of North Wooddale. Obviously a very bad accident, and he mentioned another name. That person's wife still lives on North Wooddale, and their wife was also killed. And we don't know what the future holds, but I hope you consider safety very seriously, because I think it's going to be more unsafe regardless of how many homes go in if you approve a lower number. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me the time to hear from the community.
Thank you. I feel like it's only fair to give Mr. Staton some time to respond since the community has.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'm just a little confused and would like some clarity, please, Madam Chair. In looking at the staff report and then also the Planning Commission, Planning staff recommended approval, Planning Commission recommended approval unanimously, and then we come to this commission, have agreeable to concessions of internal sidewalks, which take up space, you guys know, and cost money, a lesser density at 4 units an acre, and then are shot down to 0 units an acre. Are we supposed to take what the planning says with a grain of salt and just kind of throw it out, or I'm just, for educational purposes, a little curious?
I will say, Commission and Planning Commission will differ on some things, and with us being the legislative body, it's the final say here, and you understand how that works. But we're not always going to agree with Planning Commission, and sometimes we don't agree with planning staff. That's just kind of how it goes. Each individual property is its own individual property, and so I think that we try to look at that and be as fair as we can. But when the community comes out, we listen to that too. So I just kind of wanted to say that on the record.
Got it, thank you. And obviously it is emotional, and I think this kind of just reflects these community meetings that are, asked of us. It's an extremely emotional time, as you guys see, and there's not a whole lot of progress being made, where this is an easier forum for me to say, hey, we can do internal sidewalks, we can go down on density, but to shoot down to 0, I'm not following the logic there. It is suburban residential, it is urban growth, not even planned growth, but urban growth. And I said East Tennessee flat, not flat, trust me, I'm well aware, but it's East Tennessee flat. And it does have ample sight distance. The road is 20.5 feet down to 18.5. I'm just not following how 0 is the answer here either.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Thompson, do you want to hold yours till last? Because I have 2 more commissioners that want to say something.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Do I have another one?
I don't know why Terry showed up on my,
Oh, Commissioner Hill, are you?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. It dropped
In the
down below
queue.
here and I
I
couldn't see
noticed
it.
it did.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I'm on page 5 of the document that I believe is also up on the screen too, if you could scroll back toward, okay, keep going, please. Right there. And scroll down a little bit more so the whole thing is in the whole picture is in the, okay, thank you. If you'll look, if you'll look at this road, let me be sure I get this right. North Wooddale, and I'm assuming I'm speaking as if straight up is true north here. As I pointed out before, already to the west is approval of up to 6 units per acre. If you'll look north on Wooddale Road, it looks like a very short distance to the right, there is approval up to 7 units per acre, a whole strip that follows Wooddale Road. And then if you'll follow that up to where Wooddale intersects with Sherrod Lane to the left, you can see multiple homes there, all lined up on Wooddale Road. The idea that 2 per acre is not in character with this area is just not correct. It's just not correct. If you'll look at encompass the whole map here. So I'm just trying to look even further to see what else is done through this. So not only does it meet the growth plan, but it does in fact mirror other developments, especially at 2 per acre, that are almost right next door.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to explain who these folks were, to make sure that you all understood. So Amy Brooks is the head of the planning department. Knoxville and Knox County have a combined planning team, staff, that they go through and start the process of every land use process. And Director Snowden is the head of engineering and public works. And I wanted to give Mr. Snowden a minute to talk about his department and what they do. If you have water issues, this is the man you should talk to. And you don't necessarily you can try to go to the person that may be causing that water issue, whether it's a development or your neighbor or anybody else. But he has an entire department of stormwater people, of codes enforcement people, and I want to give him a minute to explain, because if you do have issues, then you have an avenue. Okay, well, Mr. Snowden, could you, one, just talk about what your department does, and do you have any information about this particular area when it comes to stormwater runoff?
Sure, be glad to. Yeah, my department does maintain all the roads and bridges and drainageways in the right-of-way in Knox County. I have not spoke to any of these folks that brought these concerns up on Wooddale. We have met with the first individual that lives in Neal's Landing, Mr. Chittum. I don't think he's here tonight. But he had brought, Mr. Chittum's here, when the original, Mr. Chittum had brought a concern to us some time ago, and we worked with the developer, and the developer did install some piping at Mr. Chittum's request, and certainly we always want to work in good faith to try to do everything we can within the right-of-way to assist the public. Sometimes we can't always get all the way we want to get to, but certainly it's our thought to always start with a yes and try to help when we can. So certainly be happy to meet these folks and talk to them a little bit further about what we can do. But my department does ensure that the design's appropriate and that design is implemented, and we receive an as-built from an engineer and surveyor to verify that design that we approved that meet the minimum stormwater standards was implemented. So it's our goal to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, and we'll do everything we can to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. You kind of beat me to the punch. These are two top-notch people, and all of us work daily with Director Snowden and Director Brooks, and you'll never be able to find me saying anything negative about either one of them and the work that they do. There's more work that goes into what they do than anybody will ever know. So, Ms. Hoskins, Mr. Snowden is happy for you to give him your number, and they will take a look at that. But I'm gonna have to defend my staff because they're hard workers. So we get emotional during zonings, but we start getting into name calling and saying people are doing things that, we're gonna have to, that's where you start kind of losing the argument a little bit. So, Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was also wanting to discuss just a little bit with Director Snowden about the water drainage issue. I mean, it appears to me that if you both look at and this is Exhibit A to the case, contextual map 3. So if you scroll down, it gives it a topographical map of the property. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Okay, there we go. So it looks like all the water drains, given the slope, drains away from Wooddale Road down actually into the subdivision that already exists. And is that a retention pond right there, Director Snowden? This would, and maybe I need to direct it towards the representative for the applicant, but it looks like the water's being directed away from Wooddale Road and wouldn't impact traffic or anything like that. And for that matter, if you look at the KGIS map, which we don't have here, we just have a fixed map, but I thought that Ms. Hoskins' property also was high towards Wooddale Road and drained into the existing plat that we have for the already rezoned property. So I guess I'm confused how water can be an issue with respect to this particular rezoning, because it looks to me like it just feeds back into it's kind of like it's the developer's problem. Is that, would you state it that way, Mr. Snowden?
You're exact. Well, what you're saying is right, Commissioner Fox. They're upstream, the developer's downstream. That particular area where you're talking about on that map, Exhibit 3, we required, and I don't think actually this developer did, I think a previous developer did it. There's a 36-inch pipe that is right there in that area where all that water would come to. So we've required that developer, when he built the first phase in Hills Landing, to put that pipe in there because we knew that that water naturally drained that way, and then it gets into the creek that's downstream of there. And then you're right, on the other section of the property, we can certainly check. I think this one lady did mention about, the pipe may not be at the ground level of the water flow. We can make sure that that's done so that obviously, the water that does come from her property into the pipe gets into it without backing up into her. And we'll ensure that's done so that there isn't any lip there associated with that drainage way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to kind of explain my vote because I voted no, probably for a different reason than others did. I live in in a rural conservation area, so I respect the rights of landowners, and I admire people wanting to save their rural area. Commissioner Thompson and I both agree that, having green space and having open spaces is good for health and good for our life. But Commissioner Jay did point out that we have about 1,000 jobs coming with GreenHeck, and we have an issue up there in that general area is that we don't have KUB sewer up there at this point. So the ability to create subdivisions in that real close area is very, very limited. The Chamber of Commerce, generally, they usually say about for every one job created by a factory or by a new company, 5 additional jobs are created from, from everything. So we could be looking at, 5,000 jobs. So where are these people going to live? So, the reason I voted no is because, I think that if we have a high density, and if I look at this map, the subdivision to the west and the subdivision to the northeast are 6 and 7. So to me, a 6 does fit into the character of this area. But I do believe in a bit of a trade-off, that if you're going to have high density, a subdivision should also be providing green space for the people that live in that subdivision. And if you are able to make money at 2 per acre, you are certainly able to set aside some green space for a pocket park in this area. I would think somewhere around a half an acre, in addition to the 10% open space that is in PR for this. And I'm not going to make a substitute motion at this time, but I'd just like to hear from other commissioners what your thoughts are on high density. But the trade-off for high density is having additional green space set aside in the development for the managed by the HOA. Can I hear from, your point of view first?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I think it might have gotten lost in translation, but our kind of the whole spiel here is at 4 units an acre, we're open to sidewalks, and we're open to green space. It's just, unless we can have a defined area, it's so hard for me to tell you where that can be right now or how much or what that is, or, if that's a condition, we live with it. But I don't know if I said or someone said that we can make money at 2 units an acre, but we absolutely cannot. So just want to clarify that.
So would you be willing to set aside an additional half an acre for, a pocket park managed by the HOA?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Have 4 units. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's at 4 units.
I think that was,
And the sidewalks, right?
yes, sir.
Commissioner Jay, I'm sorry.
I want to restate the motion, and I'm going to the last thing I'm going to say, and this, we started at 6, which the staff said that they support. Then it went to Planning Commission, they say support. Then we tried to compromise at 4 with amenities, and this commission said no. And if commission says no to 2 units an acre in essentially treating this as a completely rural area, not near a major artery like we do way out in wherever, then I think if I was any kind of property owner, regardless of developer, I would say your plans are worthless. And there's not a chance I would risk anything based upon your plans, because you're now saying you have no ability to develop any of your property to every property owner based upon any compromise whatsoever. I don't understand where this commission has gone to, and this has nothing to do with you as the residents. I hear you. We have all hear you. We listen to you. We take this very, very, very seriously. But we are tasked, 11 of us are tasked with coming up with a plan for the growth of this county. And there are only so many dials that you can turn. And if we say no to this and no to this and no to this and then no to that, why would anybody invest their money in Knox County? Why would anybody build a house here? Why would anybody live in a house that was already built here? Why would anybody invest in the next grocery store, the next school, the next amenity? I don't get what we're doing anymore. And I'll leave it at that. I'm going to just stick with 2 units an acre, and if it fails, I say good luck, because we're on number 2 of 7. And the next 7, we might as well just deny them all and say we're not going to build anymore in Knox County, because that's what we've just verified. So I'll leave it.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay at 2 dwelling units an acre, no conditions, and a second by Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a lot said. To Commissioner Jay and my fellow commissioners, in January, we voted to postpone this because the applicant hadn't, and the community hadn't had an opportunity to speak. I facilitated that, okay? We spent the last 60 days trying to figure out what is there a middle ground? And so when we met for lunch and they said, okay, we can do 4 units an acre. I said, okay, well, what goes along with the 4 units an acre? You reduce the density. Can we do, conservation? Can we have some green space? Can we have some sidewalks? Can we, is there any wiggle? There was nothing. There was nothing. And since then, I've not heard anything as far as negotiation, anything. So now saying we're good with sidewalks, I appreciate the sidewalks. But from the community meeting, and it was very consistent, the math doesn't work. As far as, doing calculations of what it costs per foot to put in infrastructure if you put in a 100-foot buffer on the road. So if you put a 100-foot buffer on Wooddale Road going back to the subdivision to buffer it. So on Wooddale Road, you don't even know the subdivision's back there. The cost per foot to put the infrastructure in before you got to the first lot, that would turn revenue. It financially didn't make sense. Am I mistaken, or was that accurate?
In what? I'm sorry, can you just expand a little bit? Sorry.
As far as the cost of infrastructure, if we put in a 100-foot buffer on Wooddale Road, or put in green space, or you clustered it towards the back or the front, then there's additional costs that increase the price of the lots and the homes, which made the math not work. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. But we have
Okay.
agreed to sidewalks in a half an acre. I'm not following why would we agree to anything at a neighborhood meeting or even, I guess, at lunch with you if we're going to get shot down at 0 an acre? There is no middle ground
Well,
that you speak of.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to do, was I was tasked by my colleagues to try to see if there was middle ground, if there was some sort of negotiation to be had, and the only thing that was offered was 4 units an acre. But if we tried to conserve anything, any green spaces, any sidewalks, any of that, the math didn't work. And so if it, and going back to the East Knox plan, just like we did at the Midway Business Park, we've had several applications come into the Midway Business Park. We landed with Greenhack. Greenhack was the best option we came across. If the 4 units an acre built out, property line to property line with no buffer, no green space, it's, I appreciate the half acre park, but in holistically, when you look at the hydrology of the area and the flooding that's going on with the neighbors already, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future with this increase of flooding or not. I don't know. But what I do know is what we have, if it's 4 units an acre or nothing, because you just stated that 2 units an acre doesn't work financially, which means that we're not dealing with this applicant if we move forward, because for them, it's not financially feasible if we do 2 units an acre. So if we're not dealing with this applicant, which applicant are we dealing with? Because if we rezone it at 2 units an acre, moving forward, it's going to be a different application, but we don't know who that is. We don't know who's going to go for a concept plan or development plan moving forward. And we have no say-so in any of that. This is our only opportunity to go yes or no. So I feel like I did my due diligence over the last 2 months in the postponements, and having conversations, facilitating the community involvement. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to make a substitute motion to 6 per acre with a requirement of sidewalks and an additional half-acre pocket park to be managed by the HOA.
Okay. Yeah, I need to take care of this business first. Yeah, well, I know it does, but I've got a motion on the floor. I've got to deal with this. Commissioner Jackson, if you don't care, I'm gonna ask Director Snowden a question really quick. Director Snowden, tell me about conditioning sidewalks.
Yeah, we have a sidewalk ordinance that identifies where sidewalks should be installed and then maintained by the county. Historically, or many years ago, there was a lot of sidewalks installed into subdivisions that was, kind of what we're doing here, more of a community amenity. Obviously, with our limited budgets, we wanted to focus more on connections that actually provide, transportation. So in this particular case, the only sidewalk that the ordinance that has been adopted by this commission would require would be along the frontage of Wooddale Road, that short segment. The internal sidewalks wouldn't be required by that ordinance, and we would be looking for the HOA to maintain those because obviously they would be, much like the park, they would only be really used to serve those residents and not the public at large. So I just wanted to make that one minor clarity.
So on that substitute motion that Commissioner Jackson made, so it would be the sidewalks on the frontage of Wooddale.
That would be the ones that the county would be willing to maintain.
That the county is responsible for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that, Commissioner Jackson. So are you good with that substitute motion? Okay, all right. So I've got a substitute motion on 6 dwelling units, an acre. Hold on just a second, guys. Half an acre pocket park, and then a sidewalk on the frontage of Wooddale. Do I have a second on that? Commissioner Jay?
Madam Chair, so you're amending my substitute motion?
He's amending your substitute
I
motion.
just want to be clear about that.
Yes.
And can you repeat it, please?
Yes. His amended substitute motion, 6 dwelling units, an acre, and half an acre pocket park with frontage of sidewalks on Wooddale that we can control. Commissioner Hill.
With all due respect, Commissioner Thompson, you did due diligence, and your responsibility was to look for compromise. They started at 6 and nothing. Your people started at 0 and 0. I've heard compromise on the developer side. I mean, they've come down to even less than the proposed motion of 4 per acre, plus a sidewalk, plus a pocket park. Now, I see compromise. I respectfully, where I'm not seeing any compromise is at the end of the people. And there is no meeting in the middle, but it isn't because the proposed developer has not done their part in this. So just wanted to point that out, that there has been compromise made.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to offer a second to that amendment, and somebody else can too, because here's where I don't think it keeps with the spirit of where we were heading, because I don't think you can enforce it. So if somebody seconds that and that passes, then you get a frontage, you get a sidewalk on Wooddale that goes to nowhere. That doesn't do anything for any of the concerns that the neighbors want. They want sidewalks inside of a neighborhood, and Mr. Snowden has said that's not part of the ordinance. You can't tell somebody what to do inside of the development to some extent. Otherwise, Director Moyers is going to have a heart attack in the corner over there because we're going to have to defend a lot of lawsuits. And then, how do you define a pocket park? If I've been through all of this and I'm any developer, I'm going to go, there's half an acre of a piece of grass. That's your park. Good luck. Because you may think a park is a bench and a playground and all, but we can't, how do you enforce that? How do you determine what a park is? My version of a park and yours and his are completely different. I think it's unrealistic, and that's why zoning is zoning, and how we use that land is different than zoning. And if we want to change how we do things, fine, but this is why zoning is just zoning. It's before you figure out the concept, before you figure out the traffic pattern, before you figure out the entrance, before you figure out the engineering, before you figure out the draining. It's all that stuff. So I'm not going to give it a second for that reason. I think it's just too broad, and I think we're backing up. And I agree with Commissioner Hill. We started here, and now we're at here, and it's still not good enough, and I don't quite understand it, so. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, to Commissioner Hill's point, I agree that there has been some back and forth. As far as the compromising, I think it's been last minute, because the conversations have been had over lunch and at the community meeting, and there's been opportunity for conversation from the applicant to say, hey, what do you think about this with the community? Because the community voiced their concerns, and just in the last few minutes, we've gotten some movement and some ideas for the compromise. As far as Commissioner Jay's at the 2 acre, I mean, I'm not completely opposed to 2 acre, but with no restrictions. So there's no, to your point, where the tree line is, if you drop it 20 feet and you take the roots of the trees, but the trees are 10 feet in, what does that do to the health of the trees? So there's could we add buffers? Could we do some certain things? Is there clustering of the development, like in rural conservation, where you cluster the development? And in my mind, Mr. Statton can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you cluster development, it reduces the cost of infrastructure because it's not quite as spread out. But it allows for more green space for water mitigation and wildlife, and it kind of addresses a lot of things. And so, if we do, 2 acre, is it something that we could cluster? We could require a 50-foot buffer, something to protect the neighbors and everyone else. Is that something that we would be agreeable to? And I see the community kind of nodding their head. So, I mean, 2 units an acre unrestricted it's very broad. And if truly Mr. Statton said, that's not financially feasible for them to do that, those conditions stay in place for whoever does this moving forward. So we have the buffers and the conservation, the clustering, whatever. So that's kind of an open-ended question.
Well, let's get these
I'd like
other
to call
two.
a point of order.
Let's get these other
Point of order.
two questions. Commissioner
I
Jackson?
just want to confirm, my motion died for lack of a second.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Then I would like to move that we reconsider Commissioner Jay's motion on 4 per acre.
Okay, on 4 per acre.
You can't do that.
He can, yeah, you can make that motion, or if Commissioner Jay
My
would like to.
original substitute motion was 2 units an acre, plain and simple.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Russell?
Yes, I would like to call for a vote. I think we've discussed this, and I understand where Commissioner Thompson comes from, and I think you have done an excellent job of getting it down, and I agree. I didn't see a lot of compromise from the developer. It's just that he has been forced to compromise, but you now have it at 2 units an acre, and I think you take the win, because that's a heck of a win over 6. And you vote for it and you walk.
Yeah.
And so I'm calling to see if we can have a vote.
Well, I've got 2 community members that didn't get to speak. Ms. Blakely, you've already spoke, so I'm sorry. We've got other people that are here from other neighborhoods, and so, ma'am, I'll give you 2 minutes. Yeah. If you'll state your name and address, please.
My name is Sheila Blakely, and I grew up at 305 Wooddale Road, and I'm 69 years old. And I've ran on that road when there wasn't any traffic on it, and now there is. And it's dangerous, and I raised my children on that road. The next thing I want to say, and I want to clarify something. You were talking about that subdivision that went down Wooddale Road towards the river. That was built in the mid-'60s and early '70s. And the homes have big yards and enough room. That's what we're looking at. If what we have to settle for would be 2 units per acre with some stipulations, I could see that. That makes more sense than what we were facing. The second thing I want to say is some people were saying, well, we've made promises. Some people up here were saying, well, we've made promises and we've done this and we've done that. You made promises to your citizens too. And I just hope that you think about that when you put your vote out, when you vote again, that you made promises to these citizens that are here, including me and my family. And I thank you for all you do. But you're as human as we are, and you own property too, and you would hate it if this was happening to your property. It would break your heart as it is mine, because like I said, I grew up there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sir, you will have 2 minutes, and if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Wendell Chittum. I live at 117 Neal's Landing. I think the explanation point here is flooding. I've heard a lot of conversation, but my home, could you scroll up to the Neal's Landing subdivision? Okay. So, okay, right there, that's good. So I'm the first house on the left coming in. Mr. Snowden spoke to, they came out and done some work there. But my yard is still flooding, and it's from the creek runoff from Eclipse Lane. If you see that area right there, all those houses, that whole area, the grade was raised by 15 to 20 feet. That was the floodplain. All the water now comes back on my home within 10 to 15 feet when it is at its worst. So if this area is developed, you can see the water is going to run down. They can put detention ponds in. It's not going to stop it. So again, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing here, but think about that when you vote. The explanation point is flooding. My home is flooding, or my property is flooding with the 100-year floods that we have sometimes. It will flood my house. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. Okay, I'm going to remind everybody that we have got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay at 2 dwelling units an acre and a second by Commissioner Hill. We are going to vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. Do roll call, please.
Commissioner Durrett. Commissioner Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson.
Nay.
Commissioner Russell. Yes. Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
No.
Commissioner Thompson.
No.
Commissioner Fox.
Pass.
Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Frazier.
No.
Commissioner Rawls.
Aye.
Does pass wish
Does
to
the
vote?
wish to vote?
I continue to pass.
It passes 6 ayes, 4 noes, and 1 pass. All right, I hate to do this, but we're going to take a 10-minute break. We will be back here at 7:24. All right, we are back in order. We are now on to the next item. Madam Clerk, if you will read that for us, please.
Item number 3, 1-I-25-RZ is a request of Masana Investments LLC for rezoning from A agricultural to PR planned residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Property
Thank you.
located at 2748 and 2720 Cunningham Road and 6930 Shady Lane. parcel ID 048027, part of, 028, part of, and 02802 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present?
Yes, ma'am. Drew Staton, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee 37939.
Hadn't had enough fun, huh? All right. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 5 dwellings per acre because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and the surrounding area.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Would you like to speak to your project? You do have 3 opposition.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'll just reiterate, this is in the planned growth boundary, suburban residential overlay, has buildable topography, 2 well-built roads in Shady Lane and then Cunningham. We've met with the neighbors twice, feel like we have gained some common ground, at least that I know, in regards to access and buffers and that kind of thing. I'm more happy to go into that in more detail once discussion takes place. And again, just back to the staff and planning, we would appreciate approval per their recommendation. I can answer any questions once opposition goes.
Thank you. All right. Our first speaker to this is, I'm sorry, Wayne Klein. If you'll give your name and address, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Wayne Klein. I'm from the law firm of Hodges, Stouty, and Carson at 445 South Gay Street. And will those present in opposition please stand? We also submitted a petition which has been circulated and we're exhibiting it with 234 signatures from the neighbors and the surrounding homeowners. I represent many of the surrounding landowners, residents, and subdivisions adjacent and close to the proposed development. And essentially, what Mr. Davis wants to do is change 19.09 acres in the heart of a local low-density community to planned residential with a density of 5 dwelling units per acre. Commissioners, the history and the neighborhood qualities that make this community so special will be forever changed and damaged by such a high-density development as is requested. The addition of more than 963 daily vehicle trips in this area where we are is on Cunningham Road between Maynardville Highway and Dry Gap Pike. And that area in between those major arteries is this area of essentially low density, but a long-standing community. And that kind of traffic on Cunningham Road will absolutely overwhelm the infrastructure. And, you know, you hear this every meeting, I'm sure you hear this. But in this case, we have a golf course and a country club that exists on both sides of Cunningham. So there are 4 pathways for golf carts and golfers that go over Cunningham Road, and they have to walk over Cunningham Road. And that's about 20,000 times per year those crosswalks and golf cart paths are used. It'll put the children who carry golf clubs for their parents and golfers in ever-present and imminent danger. So it's a lot different than just, hey, it's just too much traffic here. The existing character of this neighborhood is defined by large lots, upscale residences with large and many estate lots. The property today is surrounded by the DeBusk 20-plus acre estate mansion, and they are my clients. Beaver Brook Country Club Golf Course, a large and beautifully kept horse farm, and high-end single-family homes on and next to Shady Lane and Crystal Springs. Placing a 5 dwelling unit acre development in the middle of these existing properties is completely out of character to the existing neighborhood and fails to meet the review criteria located in the appendix to the county zone code when the proposed zoning district is partially related to the place type. and I hope you understand what I just said, it's the matrix at the end of the appendix that is required, has required criteria, but in this case, I would argue that none of the three criteria are met for zoning amendment requests where the proposed zoning district is partially related to the place type. So based upon that, you could just dismiss the entire application. But in this case, it appears that, however, none of the criteria, the residents of the area know that a development is going to be placed on the land, and in the spirit of good faith have attempted to work with Mr. Davis. You've heard his name before. Here we are again on a compromise, and we couldn't come to a compromise.
Mr. Klein, if you can wrap it up.
I'll add that Article 6 of the Knox County zoning ordinance requires rezoning be necessary. It's not necessary, and to provide practical application, the density needs to be looked at very carefully if you're going to approve a PR, as well as placing conditions on the application. And the condition should be a buffer as well as some type of indication that there shall be no access except through Cunningham Road, no access through Shady Lane. And that's what we're talking about.
Thank you.
And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. The next speaker is O'Perry Key. I hope I've got that right. Okay.
And I don't hear
That's
well,
not the way it came through.
so
I
we're good.
apologize.
That's okay.
If
I
you'll
just
give
hope
your
my-
name and
I hope my
address.
voice stays with me. I'm on about week 4 of
That's not the way-
upper respiratory, so.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, let me get my notes here. My name's Jerry Key. I live at 7112 Imperial Drive in Knoxville, off of Cunningham Road, directly across from the parcel in question. I'm also president of Beaverbrook Golf and Country Club, and I represent over 600 stockholders and members at Beaverbrook, which was been established since 1956. The points I would like to make is, one, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you here for just a couple of minutes. I do want to speak to the density from the club's perspective. We have a subdivision that I'm actually a member of or a resident in, where we have roughly about 2 units per acre. We have probably 60 to 70% adjacent to the golf course there that are members, and we have a good relationship with those members. We're looking for an opportunity to have that same relationship on the other side of Cunningham Road with any new development, and I feel that the density helps guide that. A lower density does help guide that. So I realize that Knox County is in a period of great growth, and we have to have plans to be able to increase the housing and everything. But I do believe that I'm urging the commission to help us manage that growth in these areas to be more in character with the surrounding community. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Nicole Fay. Okay, I don't see Ms. Fay. All right. Drew, would you like to speak to?
Yes, ma'am. I'll just expand a little bit on Mr. Klein's comments about the compromise. So we met with him, again, I mentioned twice, and what we had agreed to do, and this, again, was an understanding of a lesser dwelling units per acre than 5, because we understand that's a hard pill to swallow, is we did agree to, at 4 units per acre, no access off Shady Lane, a 40-foot buffer that we would not charge, and we would add a berm, 2 rows of Leland cypress trees, and our HOA would manage it. And then we'd also, on a separate note, agreed to a tree buffer or some sort of buffer, I guess type B or C screening along the Beaver Brook side to kind of mitigate some of those issues. And also, for what it's worth, we have the builder slated would be a local builder. He actually lives right across the street. They're two Halls guys, and they would take a lot of pride in this community, and we're excited about that. And so just wanted to mention that real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open up the floor for any discussion. Commissioner Durrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Snowden, Drew just spoke to, and Mr. Klein also spoke to, having no access off Shady Lane, so I'm assuming that would come off Cunningham. Would that be correct? Would we need to do some kind of traffic study in order to make that happen?
We looked at that. I mean, obviously, there's a couple of intersections along, I don't know if you can see it there on the map. There's a couple of residential streets that adjoin in that general area. And obviously, we want to minimize conflict points to where, those left turns don't really, counteract with each other. So if we were to put the access on Cunningham, I would certainly want to make it line up with the Imperial Drive, I think is the name of that, to avoid those left turns interlocking. The one concern I slightly have about that is looking to the east towards the golf course. There is a little bit of a rise in the road there. It looks like at the line of sight that would be required, it would be, at least 400 feet, which I think it's posted 40. That line of sight may or may not be there. I drove it and looked at it. It looks like it might, but we would just want to make sure of that because obviously, everyone knows people obviously speed on our roads. Oftentimes, we would want to make sure that line of sight's available at that Imperial Drive location.
Okay, so would that just be a matter of your team going out and checking it out, or would we need some kind of formal study done?
We would require the developer to do that as part of the concept plan application and require him to, make improvements if need be to ensure that line of sight's available.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to District Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to all the folks who came out. You've been sitting here for a while. Commission, we did have a good neighborhood meeting. I think we had about 30-plus people that showed up for the meeting. We met with Mr. Davis. But we have 234 people at least that are against this in the neighborhood. And these folks have lived in this neighborhood for a long time, and it does butt up to the golf course. And they understand that we can't stop building. So the good news is we have come to a compromise. It's not maybe agreeable to the builder, but the community has come to a compromise that there still can be some building going on, and I would like to make a motion. And I'd make a motion that we approve the planned residential zone of up to 2 units per acre because it's consistent with Knox County's comprehensive plan in the surrounding area with 2 conditions. The access, the ingress and egress to the development be exclusively through Cunningham Road directly across from Imperial Lane on the north of Cunningham Road. No access shall be utilized from Shady Lane or cut into or out of the development. And number 2, a vegetation buffer shall be created and maintained without residential development on Shady Lane side of the property for the entire length of the property on the side running next to Shady Lane, with the buffer being 30 feet wide, and the vegetation shall include the existing pines and a row of evergreen giants running the length of the west side of the property, planted 15 feet apart inside the buffer. And that's my motion.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee at 2 dwelling units an acre, a second by Commissioner Russell. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And perhaps Director Brooks, you could help me. In the Imperial Road subdivision, is that, and I don't believe it's marked on this map, is that at 2 or 3 per acre directly across the street there? Can you
I can't tell you offhand what it's built out as, but it's zoned RA, which is the minimum of 10,000 square foot lots, roughly 4 dwelling units per
4
acre.
per acre, yeah. It definitely looks more like probably three per acre driving through it. All right, thank you so much.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you. Can you tell us what the SMR is on the other side of the golf course?
I believe, let me get that layer up. Believe that's the RB zone. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that.
It's a mix, so it looks like, what is zone, Commissioner? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, what I'm trying to also do look is the density on Bogey Lane, the density in the SMR thing, the density on Cochise, or Coaches, I don't know how to pronounce it. The density on Mulberry, Ferndale, and even inside of Shady Lanes, sort of Stone Creek and Hartwind across the road. I'm trying to get a better sense of kind of the surrounding density, and since it's all under kind of SR, can you take a guess at if it's 4 units an acre across the street at Imperial?
I hesitate to take a guess. It's a mix of zoning, so you have quite a bit of RA in the area, RB mixed in with ag, RB off to the south on the other side of the golf course. The Shady Lane properties are all ag, primarily just behind this request, and those are large lots. And then you have more RA on the other side, so it is quite a bit of a mix.
But if Imperial's a 4 across the street, then most of those other neighbors are going to be 3, 4,
general.
5, 6, et cetera.
It looks like in that general range of 3 to 4.
So I guess my question for Commissioner Lee is, if the surrounding neighborhoods are 3, 4, 5, 6 in high density at SMR, how does 2 play into it in a suburb? I guess this is right back to the same question we had last time of like the suburban residential. If we, why not then just have everything ag, the whole county be 2, because that's 2 units an acre, right?
I'm sorry, I don't know what your question is.
If all of the surrounding neighborhoods are 3 units an acre, there's probably a 1 or 2 in Shady Lane, but if you look at Mulberry, Ferndale, Hardwind, Monarch, Imperial, T Lane, I mean, these are 3 units an acre, 4 units an acre, 5 units an acre, and then you have high density right there on the corner of, which is, I think, even higher density than that, probably 7 to 12 units an acre. If everything else is, a majority of it is 3, 4, 5, 6 and up, where does 2 come into play? I totally agree with the Cunningham Drive entrance and restricting the access, but where does 2 make sense in the, other than people just don't want anything built?
Well, Commissioner Jay, one thing, there's the golf course on both sides of the road on Cunningham. That road is already lots and lots of traffic. And the majority of these folks that came and showed up today and the people that came to the meeting live directly right there. Some of the properties you're talking about are not right on top of that area. So to be consistent with these large lots in the community, the character of the community, it's called for more bigger lots. So that's why we come up with the compromise of 2, because the people understand that we can't stop the development. So 2 would be more in character with the community and the traffic.
Commissioner Durrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard Drew, the developer, say they would be willing to compromise at 4 and the community to be willing to compromise at 3. So I'm going to split it down the middle with a substitute motion for 3 dwelling units an acre with the following conditions. 1, no access from Shady Lane. Access must be from Cunningham Road. And as Director Snowden stated, there would be a traffic study required in the concept plan phase. And then a 30-foot vegetation buffer.
Okay, we've got a substitute motion for 3 dwelling units an acre by Commissioner Durrett. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jay. All right, all in favor? Aye.
No.
All right, if we can do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Oster?
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson?
Nay.
Is that nay? Commissioner Russell? No. Commissioner Hill? Yes. Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Thompson? No. Commissioner Fox? Commissioner Jay? Yes. Commissioner Frazier?
No.
Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Does the past wish to vote? We have 6 ayes and 5 noes. It passes. Next item, please.
Item number 42C25RZ is a request of Randy Gennard for rezoning from PR planned residential up to 5 dwelling units per acre to PR planned residential up to 10 dwelling units per acre. Property located at 0 Rifle Range Drive, parcel ID 048070 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'll come up to the podium, please, and state your name and address.
Randy Gennard, 5408 Fountain Gate Road, Knoxville.
Thank you. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve PR Plan Residential Zone up to 10 dwelling units per acre because it provides a transition of residential intensity that is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Mr. Gennard, would you like to speak to your project?
We originally had 5 units per acre on this, and just to get a better ROI on it, we asked for more. And we're using the exact same footprint that we had originally. We had 32 by 36 buildings, and we're doing 2 stories instead of 1 stories. So we're 2 bedrooms instead of 3 bedrooms. The concept plan was already approved by Director Snowden's office, and we'll have to change it up a little bit, but shouldn't have a major impact on the area. I just ask you to approve this as the staff and commission set it out. Thanks.
I don't have any opposition on this item. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Snowden, what do you think about a turn lane at that intersection at Maynardville Pike? Is that something that would potentially be beneficial here?
Yeah, one of the oddities about that is that particular intersection is actually in the city of Knoxville. Let me take a little closer look at it here real quick. Hang on a second.
Do we have plans for that at all?
No, ma'am, we don't, and I don't believe that they do either. I was taking, let's see.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Yeah, it's one of those locations where, you look at it, it's a wide radius, so you probably can have 1 or 2 cars, and then the radius allows for that, that third car to sneak around to make that right-hand turn. So we have not received a lot of complaints about that as far as queuing of traffic. But always, it is always, it's always beneficial to have an extra auxiliary lane if you can, but it isn't one where we've received a lot of complaints. It looks like it might be somewhat of a challenge to build due to, looks like there's quite a few utilities adjacent on both sides of the road, so it may not be as an easy thing to accomplish just based on those utility conflicts. But But as far as improving traffic flow, yes, it would. There's no question about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to District Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this condos you're building on here?
Townhouses.
Townhouses? Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do support this ask, actually. I'm very familiar with Rifle Range Road, and it really is a transitional type of housing between the mobile homes that extend to the east, northeast, I guess, and then the single-family residence to directly on the other side.
All right, seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to approve the planned residential zone up to 10 dwelling units per acre because it provides a transition of residential intensity that is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 5, 2D25RZ is a request of Amy Sherrill for rezoning from CA General Business to RB General Residential, property located at 7420 Ledgerwood Road, parcel ID 028ME026 in the 7th Commission District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Aye. If you'll state your name and address, please.
Yeah, it's Michael Smith. It's 5313 Carter Road, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RB General Residential Zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. We don't have any objections on this. Would you like to speak to your project, sir?
Yeah, we just zoned it down, hoping to be able to put 2 sixplexes on.
Did you say
Two sixplex,
Two
yeah.
sixplex. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In looking at this, I think we completed a sidewalk project near this location, didn't we, Director Snowden, last year?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be agreeable to the applicant to build sidewalks along the frontage and signs marking necessary to facilitate a safe pedestrian crossing there?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Thank you. So I would like that added as a condition to whomever makes the motion. For consideration, please.
Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd make a motion to approve the general residential zone because it's consistent with Knox County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the condition of the sidewalks.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee, a second by Commissioner Frazier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project.
Item number 6, 2I25RZ is a request of Benjamin C. Mullins for rezoning from A agricultural to PR planned residential up to 12 dwelling units per acre, property located at 2520 West Beaver Creek Drive, parcel ID 067057 in the 7th Commission District.
Mr. Mullins, you know the routine.
Yeah, Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant, Mr. Denton.
Thank you. We have no opposition to this item. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the PR Plan Residential Zone up to 12 dwelling units per acre because it's compatible with the surrounding zoning and consistent with the comprehensive plan, subject to one condition.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, would you like to speak to the project?
Yeah, briefly, we were here on some adjacent property back in December that was zoned 12 units an acre, subject to 2 conditions. I sent an email out to everybody. Hope everybody's had a chance to see it, just kind of introducing this project and the difference. Mr. Denton has been able to get an option on this property and the property immediately to its east, which is already zoned 12 units an acre. So be able to kind of combine the assemblage of these properties for a nice, 12-unit acre townhome project. We're asking, understand that there's still concern about traffic going west towards the intersection of Beaver Creek and Clinton Highway until the capital improvement projects are able to be completed. The last time we solved that by limiting the number of permits that can be issued beyond 24, or having a no, left-hand turn island there. Planning staff recommended 14 permits for this property, and we're fine with that, but we would also like to add the additional condition, either 14 or a no left-turn island. In all reality, we'll probably be combining these and have to do that anyway. But, and I also understand there was some conditions about replanting 5 trees per acre, with at least half of them being shade trees. I understand that was a condition imposed last time, and we would have no objection to that if this body wants to impose that condition as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Any questions for Mr. Mullins? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd make a motion to approve the planned residential zone up to 12 units per acre because it's compatible with the surrounding zoning and consistent with the comprehensive plan, subject to the condition of the trees.
Thank you. Do I have a
Turn
second?
lanes.
Oh, and the turn lanes, that they can't turn lane, yes.
Was that Commissioner Hill? Yes. I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee, a second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item number 7, 2J25RZ is a request of Adrian Perdue for rezoning from A agricultural to RA low-density residential, property located at 0 Sharp Road, parcel ID 056FE030 in the 7th Commission District.
Applicant present. If you'll state your name and address, please.
It's Adrian Perdue. The address 148 Chesty Way, Loudon, Tennessee 37774.
Thank you. Director Brooks?
Planning Commission recommends that County Commission approve the RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the Knox County Comprehensive Plan and surrounding development.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your project?
I just want to ask how many
If you can speak up just a little bit in the
I
mic.
just want to ask how many duplex I can build per how many units per acre?
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
He had a question for planning.
Oh, you do have a question for planning?
He did.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just.
Yes.
Oh, he asked. I'm sorry, I was coughing. I can't hear up here. Any other questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I'll turn this over to Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. What are you planning on building?
Duplexes.
Duplexes?
Yeah.
And how many?
How many is gonna fit? Like 6? I think it's 3.5.
Director Brooks, was that in,
I haven't run the numbers on how many duplexes he can build on his property. I can take a look now and give you guys an estimate, but that's not something that we typically look at when we're analyzing applications.
Director Snowden, if you could address the traffic, because there is a lot of traffic on Sharp Road.
Yeah, we looked at that in this particular location. We've determined that the road right there is about 20 and a half feet wide near the corner. I think he's at the corner of Granville Corner, if I'm not mistaken. So we were generally okay with obviously the existing traffic there can be challenging, especially in the AM and PM peaks. But with the very few trips this gentleman would add, we didn't have a major concern with the existing width of the street.
Isn't that part of the school zone as well? Because the school floods into that road.
I can't remember if the
From
school
Powell
zone.
Elementary is right off of Sharp.
Yeah, I don't know I can't remember if the school zone goes up that far, but you're right, they're just immediately right across the road from it, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Brooks, am I remembering correctly, on RA, a duplex is 12,000?
Yes, that's correct. For each duplex served by sanitary sewer, they have to have a lot not less than 12,000 square feet.
So that would be roughly 7 or 8 probably duplexes. Is my math correct at 2.7 per acre?
Approximately 9.
9, thank you. Just to address your question. Or it would be 10, probably 10 individual units or individual dwellings at 10,000 per.
10,000 square feet.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Yeah, my question was for accessibility. Is it going to be accessible from Sharp Road and I guess it's Granville Connor Road? Or will they have two entrances or just one?
Maybe one from, all of them from Sharp Road and one from the other road, yeah.
Okay, so it'll have access to both roads?
No, just only one unit, yeah, maybe.
Just one unit will have access
Yes.
to the side road?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm gonna build that many, we'll see, because I don't know how is the land, like, it's not very flat. Yeah,
Okay.
Maybe we'll build less, like 3, 4.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Lee.
I'll make a motion to approve the RA low-density residential zone because it's consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Thompson? Okay. I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Thompson. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Best of luck with your project. Thank you. Next item, please. Yes.
Item number 8, ordinance O-25-3-101 is consideration of an ordinance of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, amending the Knox County Code Appendix A zoning Articles 2.20, 4.91, 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, 5.22, 5.31, 5.32, 5.33, 5.34, 5.36, 5.37, 5.38, 5.40, 5.41, 5.42, 5.50, and 5.51 to align zoning regulations with the Department of Human Services, DHS licensure rules for child care agencies and to streamline the provision of child care services. This is amending ordinance number O-90-9-130, adopted September 10th, 1990. This is on first reading.
Thank you. Do we have any,
I apologize if I can take something up. I just want to clarify my condition, if I could do it at the end of the meeting, I could do it now. I just want to make sure that, I had a question and asked Ms. Brooks about it, and she wanted to maybe clarify with the clerk. May I do that, please? Yep. I just want to make sure that the condition was the 14 or the turn lane like we talked about. I think I said the turn lane, you said yes. I just want to make sure it was the 14 permits or the turn lane was what was intended to be in the motion. No left turn lane or 14 permits, whichever, because there was the condition. Planning staff asked for no more than 14 turn lanes until the capital improvements. We were fine with that or no turn lane. It was kind of like 14 or no turn lane. Does that, and I probably should have clarified that before, and I apologize. Yes, staff's recommendation was 14, no more than 14 permits, and we asked for no more than 14 turn lanes, 14 permits or no left turn lane. And I'm getting frustrated, flustered, I'm sorry. They can do up to 14 permits for this parcel, or they build the no left turn lane, whichever comes first. Okay, just making sure that was in the record, so we wouldn't have a question about it later. I apologize very much, and thank you for the privilege of taking it up out of order. Appreciate
You're
that.
very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does the clerk have that information? Okay, perfect. All right, now we are back to the ordinance. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Jay, do you have anything to say? Okay. All right, this will require a roll call vote, so, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Jackson?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell? Oh.
Oh, we did need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Frazier and a second by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor?
Nope.
Oh, no? Roll call.
I'm gonna
No,
start
I'm
over.
sorry, I'm tired.
Commissioner Jackson? Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Hill? Yes. Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson? Yes. Commissioner Fox? Commissioner Jay? Commissioner Frazier?
Aye.
Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Oster?
Aye. Perfect. Next, we have a public forum, and we have one speaker signed up, Lee Munger. All right. All right, Commissioner Jay?
Under other business, I just want to remind everyone to RSVP for next week's graduation banquet. All commissioners, please let Drew know if you're going to be in attendance. And all junior commissioners, please let us know what your head count is with Drew so we can get an accurate representation. And we will gladly celebrate our junior commissioners next week as they graduate. Thank you.
That is a fun event. Commissioner Durrett?
That.
That, all right. Ditto. Commissioner Hill?
I just wanted to announce if any of the junior commissioners are still looking for an activity, there is going to be a community meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock regarding a zoning and prospective homes in the Carnes community. It's going to be at what we call the old library, which I will tell you is directly east of Carnes Elementary School on Oak Ridge Highway. So, might be a shot for you to
Can't
get
miss it.
a meeting in.
Commissioner Jackson?
I just want to recognize and compliment both Commissioners Larson Jay and Commissioner Courtney Durrett for the great job they did with junior commissioners.
Yes, they have done
That's
a
a lot of-
great,
that's a
great
lot of
job.
work.
Very, very well done. Take a bow. I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else. Monday will be our junior commissioners' last meeting, and so we're going to give them a little chance to open up the floor and ask some questions maybe, and so think about some things after you look over the agenda, and that's it. I do apologize towards the end. My sinus medicine kicked in, and I got a little doozy. So thank you all so much, and I hope everybody has a great evening. We will see you Monday, and this meeting's adjourned.